Okay, I think you guys can hear me now. If you can, give me a 5x5. This is a different microphone, I think. Let me make sure that this is the right one. Yep, it's working. Okay. I wanted to make sure because I've got a new microphone that I've been testing out, and I tested it last night. I think it works well. But the camera on it, for some reason, turns pink. Like, every time I try to use the camera, it turns pink. Like, the whole image is pink. I don't know why. I don't know what to do about that. If y'all can hear me, can you give me a 5x5? Oh. Let's see. So today we're going to go through the timeline right now of the Barry Wernick recount. Okay. So this is a recount that we've been working on in Dallas County for probably a month now. It should never have taken this long, but the recount has been consistently, regularly sabotaged in a variety of ways. I mean, there's federal laws that have been broken, there's state laws that have been broken. SOS and EAC guidance was abandoned. So, is my music still on? Hang on. No, the music's off, right? Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, basically, at Taking Back Texas, you know, we do election security. And unfortunately, this is, it's really not one party's fault. Our own party, I'm a Republican. A lot of the people that are in our movement are Republican, but we do have some independents, libertarians, and Democrats, okay? But it has been our own party that's also been, you know, sort of making it difficult for us to run secure elections. Y'all know that, if you've been paying attention. We all understand the concept of the uniparty, right? Which is like the establishment in either party that don't work for the people anymore, don't seem to really represent us, and don't even seem to oppose each other. That's why we just started calling them the uniparty, because it's like there are people in both parties that vote basically the same way when it comes down to it, you know, as you see for some of the Ukraine funding and border bills. Right, so we're well familiar with that concept, the establishment and the uniparty. That's what was that's who was in control of this recount in Dallas County, the establishment uniparty. And let me tell you who I mean by that. In Dallas County, we were doing a recount for Barry Wernick, who is running for Texas's House District 108. Okay. His HD 108 in Texas is totally within Dallas County. And it's a specific area in Dallas County, a wealthy area. Let's see, Barry Warnick's candidate was Morgan Meyer, who, let me tell you about Morgan Meyer, okay? Because he was the only Republican that voted against constitutional carry in the state house. He was also part of the House impeachment managing team that tried to go after Ken Paxton with those weak ass articles. Oh, pardon my French. Sorry, I'm going to stop cussing. He was part of the House impeachment team. All right. He was also one of the top 5 donors. This is a fact, okay? This is just a fact, and whether it means something or not, that's subjective. I'll admit that. But it's a fact that he's one of Jennifer Stoddard-Hydu's top 5 donors for her most recent run for Dallas County Republican Party chair, which she lost. Big time. We now have a new Dallas County Republican Party chair is going to be Colonel Allen West. He was just voted in the last primary, but Jennifer Stoddard-Hydu was the incumbent. She was running for re-election. Our candidate that paid for the recount, his opponent, Morgan Meyer, was one of Jennifer Stoddard-Hydu's top 5 donors. It was only $5,000, and arguably in Texas, $5,000 isn't like a huge amount of money. Hang on, let me post this. I'm posting this to Twitter because I always forget to post to Twitter. I'm supposed to be more active on Twitter, but I always just forget because I was just so done with Twitter for so long, you know. All right. Maybe it's posted to Twitter. Let me go and post it to our other groups because we actually have a kind of a big network. And if I just remember to share these things out, then we can actually get people watching. Okay. Let's see. All right, you guys. So basically, we've got what appears to be here. Okay. Jennifer Stoddard-Hydu is still the DCRP chair until June. So she was still in charge when Barry asked for this recount for his race, in which Barry lost by around 500, maybe like a little over 500, 530 something. Okay. After the recount, they're now saying that Barry actually lost 10 votes and Morgan gained 5. I don't know how they can determine that when we have missing ballots, but I'll go through that in a minute. We'll talk about that in a minute. So, but if you can hear me over on Pilled or over on Rumble, y'all can give me a 5x5. That'd be great. I think everything's going well. But y'all let me know if y'all can hear me. If I'm on mute, you better tell me. Same with everybody over on Rumble. Y'all can feel free to say hi, chime in. We've got some people that were on the team, hopefully coming into view and maybe coming into the chat too. So hopefully people can answer questions if y'all have any. So Barry Wernick, very suspicious of the results where Morgan Meyer beat him, Morgan Meyer being again House impeachment manager, only Republican that voted against constitutional carry in their Dallas, Texas HD 108 district. Beat Barry by 530 something points. Barry said, I'm not sure because I had a lot of support, is what Barry said. He said, well, I had a lot of support at the polls. People coming in and out were giving me a lot of support. Barry knows the people in his area. Barry's an Orthodox Jewish man. He's in an area, with a lot of Orthodox Jewish people. And Morgan Meyer's not, to my knowledge, Morgan Meyer's not Jewish. If he's Jewish, I'm sorry. But to my knowledge, Morgan Meyer's is Morgan Meyer Jewish? Anyways, I believe Barry had a lot of support, and he believed he had a lot of support. So he decided he wanted to pay for a recount. He wanted to look and see what was going on with these results. Because we also, let me give a little bit more context, right? Dallas County is using ES&S as their voting system, their electronic voting system. Part of the ES&S system is the express vote, which is a ballot marking device. Okay? The ballot marking device for ES&S is widely reported to change votes as you select your candidate. I'll give a comparison. In Tarrant County, our ballot marking device has one race at a time, and you have to go to the next page to check your selection for the next race. So it'll only have one race and there's choices for that race. You click that and then you hit next and it goes to the next page. ES&S will have multiple races on the touchscreen. So the report is that you'll make your selection for one race over here, and then at some point, sometimes it's not always the same race, but at some point you're going to make your selection on another race that's displayed, because again, ES&S has multiple races displayed on the screen. And then when you hit that race, the reports are that it can sometimes, has reportedly changed your selection on another race. And that's not cute. All right, that's not cute at all. That's absolutely unacceptable. And that's been reported down in Williamson County. I believe that was part of Lori Gallagher's lawsuit. If you know about Lori Gallagher and her suit. Now, don't quote me on that because I don't know all the details of her lawsuit. But from what I remember, I think that was part of it. But this is a widely reported issue with ES&S. This isn't like a Dallas County thing. There are some things that are unique to Dallas County, right, Hyder? But this is not actually a Dallas County issue. This is an ES&S issue. So we actually just for this municipal election that's going on are getting reports that the votes are changing. Sometimes people don't catch it until after their ballot's printed out. So you need to really check your ballot. If you're using a computerized voting system or a hybrid voting system where they give you a ballot, but it's not like a hand-marked ballot, it's like the ballot it's like a receipt ballot. That's called a PVR. You need to really make sure that those selections are accurate after it prints out. Really double check, okay? And in Texas, you actually for actual ballots, you get a limit of 3 ballots. Like you can only spoil your ballot 3 times. So what does that mean for if this continues to happen on these computerized voting systems and it continues to change your selection? You know what I mean? So anyways, we have other reports of broken chain of custody. We have reports of the equipment malfunctioning, of the totals not being right, like the amount of ballots they were sent not being right. So there were a lot of things that were reported that could have been validated easily with open records requests, but it would have taken a long time. And also, Barry wanted to make sure that the totals were accurate. Straight up. He wanted to make sure the totals were right too. So he ordered a recount, petitioned for a recount. When you petition for a recount, that's when you say, hey, I want to do a recount. And it's not like where you're asking for permission. You're saying, I'm paying for a recount. So pull all those ballots out and let me know how much I need to pay. In the Texas election code, it's in chapter 2. We're going to be let me give you the election codes that we're going to be talking about. Chapter 2:13, chapter 2:15, chapter 33 for the watchers. Okay. And then we'll probably talk about the Help America Vote Act, federal law, whatever it was. Warren pulled it up. And anyways, I pulled my text for federal law from the Help America Vote Act, like the actual bill. But in federal law, it's listed somewhere else, like 52 USC, something like that. I'll pull that up later and show you how federal law is also being violated in the conduct of this recount. Barry orders the recount, petitions for it, is quoted the lawful amount. It's $100 per precinct for counties that are using computerized voting system. Fun fact, it's cheaper by precinct for counties that use paper ballots that are doing all paper. It's only $60 per precinct for paper elections. But for computerized elections, if a candidate wants to do a recount of those records, it's $100 per precinct. Here's another kicker. We don't vote by precinct anymore. We vote by polling location because it's the countywide polling location program that we've got here in Texas. In other states, they're called other things, vote centers, where you can just vote anywhere in the county instead of voting in your assigned voting precinct, your election precinct. We need to be voting in precinct, guys. And I wish I could tell you why. We will be telling you why very shortly, but we have to be very careful about how we handle some of the information that we have. But you need to be voting in precinct, okay? I want to warn everybody right now. Even if you have the option to vote outside of your precinct, if you have the option to vote in precinct, try to do so. All right, because we're going to have to do away with the countywide voting. This has rendered our audits and our recounts very, very time consuming. And it adds other layers for us to have to reconcile when we're doing a recount, right? So Barry pays by precinct, even though we have to sort by polling location. That means we have to try to find every polling location where somebody from one of the precincts in his HD 108 district would have voted. I didn't even mention the fact that the server in Dallas is not certified. The EMS server is not, well, they say that it's certified, but we don't believe that it's lawfully certified because it can't be hash validated. The ESNS program that's loaded onto the central server in Dallas County cannot be hash validated. So how can it be lawfully certified? Because the EAC does require that for a lawful certification of the voting system standards from what we understand, unless we're wrong about that. So from that server is where we're supposed to get all of our batch reports that say, okay, we know where all of the ballots were from HD 108. We know where they're all cast. So we'll tell you where to go look for those ballots, and we'll tell you how many ballots to expect. We get that from that unhash validated, that non-hash validated ESNS central server in Dallas. So basically Hyder walks out and gives us these lists for the recount and says, okay, so you've petitioned for the recount, you've paid per precinct. These are the amount of HD 108 ballots that are in each one of these boxes, and these are all the boxes you need. All your ballots are in there. So here you go. Look for this. And it's very very much like the public machine testing where it's super controlled. You know what I mean? And so it's just like, you're going to recount what we tell you to recount, and then you're going to confirm that what we gave you to recount was accurate. But we don't really trust that that main central server. And because we're voting countywide, we were kind of like, well, shouldn't we look in all of the boxes, especially since that server, we're not sure if that server is even certified. And Hyder keeps saying it's certified, the SOS certified it, but just because the SOS has certified something, if it's not lawfully certified, if it doesn't check all of the requirements, then it's not lawfully certified. You can just say that. You're just saying stuff, like, okay. So again, he's just telling us that all of the ballots are in these polling location boxes, and we don't have to look anywhere else. And we're like, all right, well, so then we were like, well, so if that's the case, then can we get some of these supporting documents? Because federal code states, and I can actually read it from, I have a printout of it actually, but I could read it from the Help America Vote Act itself. I should share this page. This is what I should do. Oh, my keyboard's broken. I have to use this one. So let me pull up the Help America Vote Act so I can show you guys what we're going to end up basing all of our arguments as for access to these records for this recount. We're going to base all of our stuff on the fact that the federal government has laid out guidelines for this. And Article 1, Section 4 says that they can. It says a state legislature usually writes the laws, decides the time, place, and manner of elections, but that Congress can issue certain regulations. This is one of those such certain regulations, okay? All right, so we're going to pull this up as a Help America vote. And we're going to just pull up the text, and I'm going to read it to you. Now, this is how I pull my data. This is not actually, you got to go into the actual federal code to pull this up, but I'm going to read you what is existing law. All right, share this screen right here, and let me add this to the stream. I don't know what I'm doing. All right, guys. So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna go right over here. We're gonna click on and go right here. Okay, so this is congress.gov, right? So this is good. This is official. And I like to go down here, see where it says text, this little text tab. That's where I like to go because I like to read the actual text of the bill. But then, I'm lazy, so I'm just going to search. I'm going to say, oh, darn it, my stupid keyboard. Okay, so, let's say recount. Boop, boop, boop. Okay, this is it right here. So this is actually in section 301, and I could scroll up here right here. Okay, can you read that? Let me double check and make sure that that's actually okay, let me zoom. I need to zoom in. This is the Help America Vote Act. Section 301, right here. This actually says 42, no, 42 USC 15481. Does that help? Bar attorneys, does that help you guys? Because y'all get weird about how I cite things. I'm citing the act, and I understand maybe that's weird to you guys, but this is what was passed into law, so that's what I'm citing. Whether y'all, and if y'all want to go and cite anything else, okay, but it better match this. So we're gonna scroll down, and so this section 301 is actually it's voting system standards. Okay, can y'all read that? Section 301, voting system standards. Each voting system used in an election for federal office shall meet the following requirements. Okay. And so here's all of this stuff, right? We're going to scroll down here to right here. Okay. This says, this is my favorite part right here. The paper record produced under subparagraph A, which I guess we should go read subparagraph A. Yes. Here, audit capacity. A. In general, the voting system shall produce a record with an audit capacity for such system. Manual audit capacity, okay, goes all the way down here. We're going to go right down here. The paper record produced under subparagraph A shall be available as an official record for any recount conducted with the respect to any election in which the system is used. Okay? Can that be Exhibit A? We started asking for supporting documents like the ballot register, which shows the range of ballot numbers that were assigned to each location. That way, because Dallas actually has their ballots numbered right now. Tarrant just voted to do that with ours, so in November we'll be able to... I have a comment. In November we'll be able to do that. Hey, what's up, Joe Hoffman? How are you? In Dallas, they have their ballots numbered already, so what we need to do when you're, doing election security in Dallas County at this point is you need to make sure that the ballot ranges, the number ranges on the ballots that are assigned to that location are what's in that box whenever you open it up. So we're asking for the ballot register. We're asking for the ballot seal and certificate, which is the chain of custody, which is the document that people sign off on when they're handing the ballots back and forth to one another. You know what I mean? We started asking for things like this, and we started being denied. Oh, I just checked over on Pilled. Hey, guys. Stacks, Mikey Baseball. What's up, guys? I haven't seen you guys in a while. I haven't heard from Stacks or Mikey Baseball in a while. Thank you guys for being here. Y'all let me know if you have any questions. Hope y'all can hear me. Over on Rumble, if y'all have any questions, let me know. I'll get back into what I'm explaining. So we started asking, at the beginning of the recount, actually, for certain supporting documents. And right off the bat, Barry challenged all of the records. What that means is that triggers his right to take a photocopy of all of the ballots. Every single one of the ballots. He can run it through a scanner and just take his own scans of the actual ballots that were in those boxes, right? He has the right to do that. He challenged at the very beginning because that's what he wanted to do. There were several witnesses, including the recount committee chair, who was appointed by Jennifer Stoddard, who was sort of in charge of this recount, but who was not actually there for most of the day. She was there for day one. Okay, from all accounts, she was there. All accounts that I've heard, she was right there when Barry challenged all of the election records, and it was established that he was going to be allowed to make photocopies after the recount. If it needed to be after the recount, okay. But the SOS did say, nope, we could take photocopies of any record that we want to as well. If the watcher saw something weird, we could take photocopies of that. So we were trying to get these records so that we could make sure the chain of custody was accurate, make sure the ballot ranges were accurate, okay? And we could just check that off our list and say, all right, there's no issues here, no issues here. We couldn't get that. It was like pulling teeth getting these documents, and we would ask Hyder, and he would say, did Jennifer has to ask him for me? Otherwise, if you ask him for me, you have to ask it in a Public Information Act request. But if it's for the recount, it needs to come from Jennifer. So we asked Jennifer. Jennifer. You know Jennifer started Hydu, election security guru, right? Like the top that she's done. No one's done more for election security, right, than Jennifer Stoddard Hydu, right? Didn't y'all know that? Okay, but she knows that. Now, Jennifer, you and I both know that nobody's done more for election security than you. She told us that those records that federal law says that we have access to, okay? Federal law says that we have access to these for any recount. She decided to tell Barry, that's out of the scope of the recount. That's for audits. You're not doing an audit. You're doing a recount. And he was like, no, this is a recount. I'm aware it's a recount. Hey, Joe Hoffman. Right, the system's not broken, Joe Hoffman. Exactly. It's not lawfully certifiable, but you're right, Joe. You know what? And they're right. Technically, it's working just as designed, isn't it? It's working exactly as they intended it to work, isn't it? Going over well for them. But yeah, so he started being denied all of these records right off the bat. And we were arguing. We asked the SOS. The SOS was like, yeah, I mean, you can get those records. Some of the records at the very beginning, the SOS did say are outside of the scope of the recount, but we don't know what they were basing that on. Surely they weren't. I mean, I don't think they were basing it on any state or federal statute, because this is what the federal statute says. This is what the federal statute says. Okay. This says that we have access to it. Christina Adkins. All right, so I don't know what they were saying, but they were being real weird about it. And Jonathan Neerman was eventually representing Barry's opponent, Morgan Meyer. That dude and Morgan Meyer's team are total rhinos. They'll never run on election security because they were objecting to literally everything, including when Barry asked if he could see the tally sheets that we were all watching them hand mark. They started saying, no, you can't see those. And he was like, yes, I can. I'm the one paying for the recount. I'm literally paying for those. That's the whole point of the recounts. The SOS had to come in and say, yeah, look, these are all supporting documents. Everything that we asked for, it's all supporting documents, because as federal code says right here. Okay, let me see if I can get it any larger for you. Okay. Can you read this? Jennifer's daughter, how do you put on your readers? Okay. I can read. I'm on a different screen and I can read it. Look, the paper record produced under subparagraph A shall be available as an official record for any recount conducted with respect to any election in which the system is used. What grounds does Jennifer have to tell us? And also, she has this problem where she likes to ascribe intent to people. Like, what are you going to do with those records? I'm like, what's it to you? This is our right. Why would you risk violating our rights to stop us from looking at these records, Jennifer? It's weird. And Morgan Meyer, Jonathan Neerman literally argued that the tally sheets for the recount, where you're tallying the totals per candidate. I wish I could read you his email. I wish I could do it, but there's other emails involved and they haven't all been redacted yet. So I wish I could read you his email. This is literally what it said. He said, surely the law surely the law couldn't possibly mean that the tally sheets from the recount are supporting materials for the recount. He said, surely it couldn't possibly mean that. And Barry's attorney responded saying, I don't know what else it could mean. Like, what are you going to base the results of the recount on? That's 100% supporting material, you fool. And the SOS was like, yeah, that's supporting material. What the hell? Stop. Let him see the tally sheets. Let him get copies of the tally sheets. The SOS stepped in multiple times and did defend Barry on some pretty important aspects, because Morgan Meyer and his attorney and Jennifer Stoddard-Haidu, remember, Morgan Meyer, one of her top 5 donors for her campaign. Okay, Morgan Meyer, total rhino. Jennifer Stoddard, both establishment rhinos. Okay. And Jennifer Stoddard-Haidu, the champion of election integrity, she was violating federal election statute. For what reason? I don't know, other than Morgan Meyer did not want Barry accessing any of this stuff. I'm pretty certain that Morgan Meyer's pretty shocked he won as well, because Barry had a lot of support. Did I mention Barry's Trump endorsed, Ken Paxton endorsed, Dan Patrick endorsed, and more? So Morgan Meyer's team was really pushing Jennifer to not allow us to have access to this, and Jennifer was like seeming to go along with it. From everything that I've seen, Jennifer's agreeing with Morgan Meyer's team on every point of obstruction, to the point where even when the SOS responded and said, no, you need to let him have access to the tally sheets, Jennifer was advising the recount committee chair, who she fired twice and replaced with her crony, Susan Fountain. She got Susan Fountain to say, I don't care what the law says. Don't care what the SOS says. That's on police body cam footage. We're waiting for the police body cam footage, and I'll show you that she said, I don't care what the law says. I don't care what the SOS says. You're not getting them. And then she, of course, like, capitulated later. So, okay, over on, okay, Matt, 1776. Oh my gosh. Hello, titties and beer. Okay. He says, Hi, C's love saying my name. LMAO. Yep. Welcome, titties and beer. You're always welcome. Hello, everyone. Whoop, whoop. Matt, 1776. How are you? Y'all speak up. Y'all chime in. Don't have anybody speaking up over on Rumble, but y'all can feel free if you want to. Over on Pilled and Foxhole, it's good. We got Joe Hoffman over on YouTube. So we got a couple people watching on a few different platforms, so that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Anywho, Jennifer Stoddard Haidu, she gets real smart aleck sometimes, you know, and I'm trying not to cuss, so I'm going to call her smart aleck. All right, she gets real smart aleck sometimes. And she was copying an attitude and straight up gaslighting Barry, saying that we're bending over backwards for you in this recount, while literally denying him everything that federal statute says he has access to. And she is not citing any state law. We're citing chapters 213. I guess I might as well go ahead and show you chapter 215. Ay, Dios mío. Let me just pull up the whole thing. Because Texas election code is actually really good. Other states, you know, I hate to say it, other states don't have as good a laws as Texas does. And I'm not just saying that because I'm from Texas. Oh my gosh, don't tell me that the freaking site is down again. Do you see this? This site has, every time, like in the last couple weeks that I need this website, it's been down. It did have one announcement that said it was going to be down. So you're just going to have to, we'll have to look that up later, I guess, since it doesn't want to pull it up right now. We'll just go back to showing the federal statute so that we can establish that we're standing on some actual real law that was actually passed by. The Help America Vote Act's not my favorite thing, but this is a pretty good section in it right here that not only requires an auditable paper trail. So yeah, it's absolutely, Joe. It's blatant corruption. When this federal law is very clear, the paper record produced under subparagraph A shall be available as an official record for any recount conducted with respect to any election in which the system is used. Again, if you want to be able to cite this, feel free to just Google the Help America Vote Act, click on the congress.gov link, okay, and click on the little tab that says text, and scroll down. You can search by hitting Control F and typing in recount and just tabbing down until you see this, or you can scroll down to Section 301, Voting System Standards, and read through that whole thing, and you'll get to this shortly, okay, and then you'll have a really good understanding of what federal law outlines an auditable paper trail for computerized voting systems. This is the law. Computerized voting systems must have an auditable paper trail. That's non-negotiable. That's what Help America Vote Act says. If you're using a computer, you don't have to use a computerized voting system, but if you are, it does need to have an auditable paper trail. Other aspects of laws have been passed in relation to this as well. This is not it. My point here is to show you that what was actually passed with the Help America Vote Act was the requirement for that auditable paper trail to be made available for any recount. Okay? So this is what we've been standing on. This and the state statutes that that are not pulling up. Let me see if I can get it to pull up. It's been down so many times in the last few weeks. Anywho, what I can probably show you is the Secretary of State's own guidelines. I can say this. Oh my gosh, if I keep doing that. Texas SOS recount. I mean, the Secretary of State seems to understand how to do it. So let's pull this up. Do you think it'll let me? Let's pull this up. Interesting. I think I downloaded it. Let me see. Here we go. Just look at the PDF. Okay. I'll pull it up. I believe I did download it. Ay, Dios mío. Let me try to find it since they deleted it. Okay. So the SOS's own guideline actually reflects the federal government like the EAC. Okay. The EAC says that you need to allow all of these records to be made available. They actually have a chart. Not only does the Help America Vote Act say that, but the Help America Vote Act creates the EAC, which is the Election Assistance Commission, which is the deep state. They are part of the one of the entities we need to go in and manually regulate. The EAC is okay. Let me see. Chain of custody. Best price. Oh, it's on my other computer. Darn it. So unless it does pull up, it's really it's really not going to let me look at this. I don't know. They're always working. They're always working on it on Sundays. It's weird, and they should be in church, and instead they're working. But so the EAC was created by the Help America Vote Act to basically enforce the Help America Vote Act. You know what I'm saying? They're supposed to create guidelines. They're supposed to make suggestions. Their suggestion is to make all these records available. Their suggestion matches this. And the state's Secretary of State's guidelines for petitioning for a recount match this as well. It says actually right here, and let me show you this. Let me do this, actually. This is something, let's see if I can zoom in. No. So, okay, so my this computer is just not, it doesn't have all the things that I need on it. But basically, when I'm trying to show you, I can't show you. I'm trying to show you that the Secretary of State knows full well that all of these records need to be made available because it's in their own guidance, right? State statute says these records need to be made available, but the freaking website isn't working. So this is the state capital. This is statutes.capitol.texas.gov. This one's down. All right. This one right here, let me switch it over. This is sos.state.tx.us. This one's down. Maybe they're all on the same server. Well, they didn't take congress.gov down yet, so I still got to show you the federal law that all of our state laws are actually in adherence with. Okay. Barry and his team of watchers, of which I was one, were regularly obstructed from these recount documents. There were some instances in where we weren't given like the ballot registers until after the ballots were gone. Okay, we can't do anything with that. We need the ballots there. This is why the focus needs to be on prevention. All of this is really timely. We need to be able to look at those records when they're out, when they're available, and when they're still in those polling location ballot boxes, which was the benefit of the recount. That gives us an opportunity to really examine the returns per polling location. After, if we waited until all of the ballots were publicly available, that's after the 61st day. At that point, they're actually basically immediately taken out of those polling location boxes, and you don't have them sorted by location anymore. So a significant portion of the reconciliation you need to do for the legality and legitimacy of some of these ballots is ruined. You need them sorted by polling location, so we need to do that within the 60 days. The recount was going to afford us a full opportunity to do a full reconciliation of all of these. And you would think that Jennifer Stoddard-Haidu, who is such a huge champion for election security, would not only know federal statute, she would stand on it, right? She would know it and she would understand how important it is. You would think that Jennifer Stoddard-Haidu would be all about finding what issues might be going wrong with Dallas County elections. Because remember when she went to, hang on, wait, maybe I can pull up the Dallas GOP blog. where she went down to the Secretary of State's office for a photo op and tried to make it look like she was doing something. Let me see. Dallas GOP blog. Look, I don't know what it was called. The one where she put, oh yeah, this is the blog where she, this is not a Republican blog. This is a blog for blah, 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 whatever. I'm like, it's literally a Republican blog, but it's fine. You don't gotta lie. Let me see if I can show this to you guys. Blog, Dallas Republican Party. Are you concerned about election integrity? Get involved. Author, Jennifer started Haidu. If she, I don't think she actually writes these, but, and look how many views she got. Wow, she gets more views than I do. I am jealous, Jennifer. You're killing it. Okay. All right, Jennifer. She's the champion of election integrity, right? So she's definitely fully on board with this federal law that says that we should have access to literally all the paper records that are produced from an electronic voting system for any recount. Am I zoomed in enough on that? Just in case, Jennifer, just in case she clicks on my link on Twitter, because I did post it on Twitter. Is there any way I can make this bigger so Jennifer can see it? And she doesn't have to squint too hard. All right, come on, guys, come on. Where's it at? Come on. All right. Let's get it. Let's get it. Make sure Jennifer can see it. On the off chance, okay, it's going to be right here, Jennifer. Here we go. All right, we're just going to have to go with that and hope that when if she pops in, she has her readers on. Okay. Let's see. Meeting with Texas, yeah, is this the one that I read? Meeting with Texas Secretary. Yeah, this is the one that I read. Here's her photo op. Okay. And yeah, And so that's Jennifer, and that's the new SOS, and that's who's the other one? Who is this senator right here? I don't want to show their faces because I don't want anyone to tell me that I'm bullying them. But here's what Jennifer has to say about election security, because she's all about it. She says, this is so funny right here. This really got me the last time. I did a whole video on this blog post, so I'm not going to do too much on it today. But this really hit me in my funny bone. She says, we met face to face with Secretary Nelson and her senior staff for well over an hour. So that would be Keith Ingram. The specific purpose, maybe not, maybe I'm wrong. He would have been important to have there. Jennifer, if you were serious, you'd have had Keith Ingram there. The specific purpose of this visit was to discuss the e-poll book failures and or manipulation that Dallas County experienced in the November 2022 midterms and again in the November 2023 constitutional election. Jennifer still has no explanation for that. She's just doing this just to be able to run and say she was doing something. She says, it's just the beginning of an in-depth discussion about the vulnerability of machine voting. The goal is to set the path for elections in regionally combined precinct centers. That's what we've been suggesting, you fucking ding-dong. Okay, Secretary of State is the chief election officer for the state of Texas. Yes, glad you caught up. I'm glad you're where we're at, Jennifer. And this is it right here, guys. This sent me, okay? She says, I'm not aware of any other such meeting directly with the Texas Secretary of State about election integrity in the last 5 years, since Texas made the mistake of changing over to the machine voting systems. In the last 5 years. We didn't even have a Secretary of State all through COVID, Jennifer. You wild woman. We didn't even have a Secretary of State for several years. Secondly, when one was temporarily appointed, he was immediately flooded with complaints about election security issues, and he immediately set up that he was doing the phase 1 audit, which was a joke, which, Jennifer, I wish you had done a blog post on the discrepancies about the phase 1 audit progress report, but you have no idea what you're talking about because you're a fraud, Jennifer. I'm not even going to be nice anymore because this is not cool, okay? She's going to actually say she's not even aware, and she's really going to tell people that no one's done more for election security than she is. She is delusional. She is delusional. Okay, not aware of any other such meeting directly with the Texas Secretary of State about election integrity in the last 5 years. And she, giving her credit, she did write this at the end of last year. Doesn't mean a lot because for how long were we shut down? Okay, and how long did we not have a Secretary of State of Texas? And also, how long were they ignoring our complaints. How many of you have submitted complaints to the Texas Secretary of State only to be totally ignored? Oh, sorry guys. This is what I was supposed to be sharing. Y'all gotta tell me whenever I'm messing up, y'all. I need y'all. Yeah. What are you doing over there, Titties and Beer? Y'all gotta tell me when I'm showing the wrong page. All right. This is what Jennifer Stoddard Haidu is doing. She is acting like she's doing so much for election security. Meanwhile, violating, back to this again, meanwhile, violating this federal election code for making sure that Barry and his watchers don't get any of the documents that we need to reconcile which locations came, which ballots came from which location, whether they're supposed to be at that location, whether they're not. And so we had a lot of arguments related to, well, why does that matter? What does that have to do with the recount? Or with the totals? How would that affect the recount totals? And it's like, well, if there's something blatantly wrong with the ballot, it's maybe a ballot that shouldn't be counted. And I would go and show you what the Texas Election Code says, but this website is still down. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. They've just got it down right now. But Texas Election Code outlines that we need to have access to all of these things for several reasons, and that if we find a ballot, if we find an issue with one of the records, especially in a party recount, this is an intra-party election, right? This is an intra-party recount. So the party really does have the ability to say, hey, you know what? This doesn't look like a lawful ballot, and I'm going to say this one's not going to be counted for the recount. The party and the recount committee chair does have the power to do that, which is probably why Jennifer fired the first two recount committee chairs, because they were being a little bit too reasonable in allowing us to photocopy ballots that we were going to ask them to throw out later. So she put Susan in there, so Susan would just flat out not even let us make the photocopies, and definitely wouldn't consider throwing out what looked like unlawful ballots. Now, understanding that probably a lot of these ballots that are unlawfully prepared probably were cast by lawful voters, but they're so blatantly mishandled. We've got to start somewhere with election security. So why not especially Dallas, why not our own party primaries? Barry was willing to throw out votes for himself if they were unlawfully prepared ballots. He was willing to do that because he means what he says. When he says, well, I want to clean up the elections. If this is a potentially unlawful ballot, we need to really strictly enforce these election laws. And that's because Article 1, Section 4 outlines that it's the state legislature and the Congress. And what that means is duly elected representatives need to create the laws on how elections are run, not unelected bureaucrats, not deep state rats, okay? Like duly elected representatives that can go back and explain to the people what they've implemented. And they know what their people can understand. And they should, hopefully, ideally, they would be going up there and saying, no, don't try to sell me this bag of tricks. My constituents are not all computer engineers. How am I going to be able to explain this to my constituents if there's an issue inside the machines? I can't. If I'm not a computer engineer, and most of my constituents aren't either. Okay? And even if they were, a lot of computer engineers have only backed us up. There's too many back doors. There are too many layers, It's too obfuscated with these electronic computerized voting systems. There's like, because there's already human error that we're going to have to deal with. There's still human error with these computerized voting systems, but now there's another layer on top of it, which is the actual computer that could be glitching. We don't know if that's a glitch, a human error, or a hack. We don't know, and that it shouldn't be like that. It should be a matter of faith that our ballots are recorded accurately. We should be able to check and know and trust that our ballots are recorded accurately. That way, if the people really do elect Joe Biden, we can say, wow, okay, let's try and move on, Unlike Hillary, who tried to frame all of Russia for Trump winning 2016. Okay. But, so all of these election codes are tied together. So, okay, when the federal law says that these records need to be made available, that means that any state law that's adhering to the voting system guidelines that the federal government puts out needs to adhere to those guidelines. You either follow the law or you don't. Like, it's not that complicated. Part of the recount is to help determine whether or not you're going to file a contest. Say the recount brings it really, really close, right? And you say, ooh, actually, you got a lot more votes than we thought. The candidate could then say, well, I think that I actually would have won maybe if something happened. Say during the recount, during the examination of the ballots, you see something really weird and you think, I think I would have won if this had happened or whatever. You know, if these emergency ballots were cast, or if these, whatever the issue is. There's like a plethora of items that could be cited as to why the recount could have been, or the total could have been changed, or the turnout could have been different. The recount affords us an opportunity to find those items, okay? And to be able to have evidence to file in a contest. So an election contest is a lawsuit. You file that in a court. A recount is you're just doing the recount and looking at all of the documents and making sure everything adds up. But a contest is a lawsuit. You do not want to file a lawsuit without evidence. You really don't. Unless you're like in family court, because family court, apparently evidence doesn't fucking matter. You don't need anything at all in family court. But in actual real court, you're going to want evidence before you file a lawsuit. So when you're prevented from getting the evidence you need for the contest via obstruction during the recount, the only thing that Barry knew to do was to retain, an attorney to try and enforce the law, because the laws are good on the books. The laws are on our side, and the SOS was actually backing us up a lot. So Barry retained an attorney who filed a writ of mandamus, because as I was going to show you, the state statute actually says this section is enforced by writ of mandamus. Let me see. The statute, the website's still down. Yep. I don't know. They're working on, I'll show you. They're working on the website. So the state statute website is still down, so I can't show you guys. But anyways, the recount was a joke. Nobody was even trained. None of the counters got any training. They didn't know what they were doing. They came up to me and they were asking about like an undervote and an overvote, because they weren't given any training at all. Okay, there's written testimony, which I would show you, but because we might use it somewhere, there's written testimony saying, I don't even know if this from a recount counter, saying, I don't even know if we did the first couple of days right. These were Jennifer's counters that she picked. And they were like, I don't even know if we did the first couple of days right. We didn't know what we were doing. And we didn't know how to handle overvotes and undervotes. And if you, a lot of you guys probably know what that is already, because a lot of you guys watching our election judges and all that stuff. An undervote is where they didn't vote for anybody in that race. And an overvote is where they marked vote to, more than one candidate in a race. So there was absolute chaos with the counting teams because they didn't know what they were doing. There was a lack of there was a lack of order in general. They would not provide us with the supporting documents that we needed to reconcile everything for this recount. They delayed for so long that we no longer have access to the room that we were using in there. It's taken like a month for this recount because Jennifer kept delaying. Jennifer and Barry's opponent were seemingly in cahoots the whole time, trying to make sure that Barry didn't get access to these records. That's from my point of view. That's what it looked like to me. Okay. The Secretary of State was mostly on Barry's side about things. They did at one point make a statement that something was outside of the scope of the recount, but that does not comport with the law, state or federal. So I'll challenge the SOS on that front. None of the documents we were asking for were outside of the scope of the recount. They all had to do with the relevancy, with the legitimacy of those records that we were allegedly recounting. Because you don't want to recount unlawful records. So, and again, the chair has the ability to say, I don't want to count this record. I don't think this record is lawful. We even had an argument. I was like, what if we open up a box and the ballots were all the wrong color? What if they were pink? open up a box and the ballots are pink. Those are clearly not lawful ballots that were used in our election. Are we going to count those? Nobody knew. Nobody knew what to do. The SOS didn't know what to do. I was like, what do we do if we find blatantly unlawful items? The SOS was like, I don't know. They had the law right there. We're not citing it properly. The SOS's own people. But occasionally they would be on Barry's side about some things, being like, yeah, he does need to have access to that. Chuck Penny in the SOS office was really cool. Really, he was like, I don't know what you're talking about. He should have access to those. But Christina Adkins is a clown, and she was the one that was saying it is technically outside of the recount, the scope of the recount, but I don't know if she didn't cite any code to back her up. And that's why we think that they're just talking to each other, like outside of, like, behind Barry's back, basically, and being like, yeah, let's just all work together, and if we all say no, we'll back each other up, then he won't get access to him. You know what I mean? So our ability to collect evidence for the contest has been she has successfully sabotaged any potential contest that Barry would have filed based on actual evidence. Hey, Uncensored Abe, how are you? Thank you for the cookie. I really appreciate that. Stacks. I can't believe it. Titties and beer. That is one of the best names. That is one of the best names. So, thank you guys for being here over on Pilled and Foxhole. You guys are awesome. Thank you again for the cookie. Yeah, y'all feel free to pipe in. This has been a review of the timeline of the Barry Wernick recount, okay? Basically, he paid the deposit, immediately started being denied access to records after he immediately challenged all of the records, saying, I'm going to want photocopies of all of these records. Then they were blocking him and saying, no, okay? This is really weird. About halfway through the recount, they randomly decided they threatened to shut down the whole recount if he didn't just bring them $10,000 more. Where did they get that? We don't know, because he was not sent, and I would have shown you, but the freaking state statute website is down. I would have shown you what the state statute authorizes for recount deposits. And you pay it up front, and you have to wait until the end of the recount for anything else. See, you pay a certain amount up front, the deposit, right? You know, everyone knows what a deposit is. Jennifer, you're not going to gaslight us about what a deposit is. You put down the lawful deposit, and it's a certain amount per precinct, like we discussed already. $100 per precinct if you're in a computerized voting system county. It's actually cheaper to do a recount for paper elections. It's only $60 if you have a paper election. But if you have a computerized election, it's $100 per precinct. That's it that you put down. That's the deposit. A deposit is made one time. How many deposits on y'all's apartments do you put down? Like, do you put down an initial deposit and then later will they just randomly decide to charge you a second deposit? Not a pet deposit, like you get a pet. Like just another deposit. Because that's what happened. They just randomly, he paid them $8,000 was the initial deposit. Because that's what they told him to pay. That's what the law prescribed. The law also prescribes that after the recount, then you'll determine what happens with that money. Because if during the recount, or at the end of the recount, it's determined that the outcome of the result changed, the deposit is completely refunded to the petitioner. Right? If they're the winner. But if it's not a change in the election, there's not a change in the outcome, then whatever was accrued, or whatever costs were incurred or accrued since the original deposit was put down, are billed, itemized, and billed out to the petitioner with a 90-day window of paying. That's what the law prescribes. And that's under Texas Election Code. It's the cost of recounts. I could probably pull it up. But the state website's down, but I could probably find it on another website. They randomly, halfway through the recount, said, okay, Barry, you need to bring us $10,000 or the recount's over. And he was like, wait, what are you talking about? I already paid the deposit. And they were like, nope, you ran through your deposit and you need to bring us another $10,000 or it's over. And he was like, okay. And so I guess they thought that he wasn't going to be able to raise it because they, like, hours after they set that demand, that ransom, hours afterwards, they actually canceled it. They actually canceled the recount. They sent out an email to all of his supporters, all of the counting teams, and said it was over because he didn't bring the money. They were open about what appears to be an extortion. In my opinion, it looked like an extortion because he had already paid the lawful deposit. I don't know where the money went. I think that he made a cashier's check out to the Republican Party of Texas because Jennifer just decided to get Matt Rinaldi to endorse her demand for $10,000. And she gave Barry a matter of hours to raise $10,000 to prevent the premature shutdown of the election. He raised the money. He says, by all Barry's accounts, from what I remember, if I'm remembering right, I thought that he said that he was in communication with them, that he had the money. He just didn't know like how to get it to them. He was like, you literally just sprung this on me. Do you want, and who do I even give this to? Because last time it had to be taken down to Austin. Like, who do I even give this to? So she was allegedly, she was aware that he had the money, and then they canceled it anyways. That's why Barry took a selfie with the check. If you saw that on Twitter and you saw that Barry took a selfie with the check of $10,000, it's because we had to call in some favors to get that. And then he was like, well, where do I even send it? Who do I even pay this to? And then they canceled it. He was like, what the hell are you doing? So he goes onto Twitter and posts himself with the check. I was like, I have the money. And then Jennifer was like, okay, fine. Bring it on Monday. And then you can resume the recount. But this whole time, Morgan Meyer's attorney, Jonathan Neerman, was like bullying Barry, like, when are you going to pay? When are you going to pay? For like just a matter of hours. It was so weird. It was like the weirdest coordinations, like extortion ballet I've ever seen. I don't know. And the Secretary of State was like, I've never seen that. I've never seen a second deposit requirement. This was a pink-haired Secretary of State representative down from Austin named Alyssa. She said, I've never seen that before. Look, I don't know. Okay. What's that? What's that, Jennifer? A second deposit? Who does that? Anyways, he paid it because he didn't know what else to do. She literally canceled the deposit. Or she literally canceled the recount. So he paid it. Recount resumed the next week. Just like that. $10,000 up in smoke. For what? We don't know, because the only itemized report that they sent, which they sent like, I could have the timeline mixed up in my head, but from what I remember, they sent that after they canceled the recount. They sent him an itemized expense report that actually showed he had a balance of $1,000. So from what I could tell from the communications and the timeline of communications, Joe Hoffman, yeah, the SOS representative, she did. She had pink hair. She looked like Kool-Aid, like the Kool-Aid, pink hair. Even she was like, what is this? What's going on? It's weird. We were all weirded out. Okay. But anyways, at the only itemized expense report that they sent at that time, which was after they canceled the recount and he had obtained the $10,000 and made a cashier's check out to the Republican Party of Texas, they sent the itemized expense report, and it showed that at the time of the recount, they would have had to refund Barry $1,000 as opposed to him owing $10,000. Jennifer was like, well, this recount's costing $3,000 a day. And it's like, yeah, so why wouldn't you train the counters so that we didn't have to waste multiple days in a row trying to figure out how to do this? Like, and and Barry's like, I'm paying everybody to sit around and like twiddle their thumbs because no one knows what's going on because no training was provided. That's what was happening for 3 weeks minimum. Okay. SOS was going back and forth. SOS was saying, yeah, okay, you need to actually let them have some of these documents and you need to let them photocopy them. You need to. First, we were using Hyder's scanner. Hyder took them away. You're going to hear Jennifer try to be like, Barry didn't even want to scan them until like a week or two in. No, we had a scanner for a while. We literally said the very first day in front of you, Jennifer, that he was challenging all of the ballots. There's like 4 witnesses, including the recount chair that she appointed at the time. And we have his written testimony. He was like, yeah, he literally challenged them in front of all of us. That was why we were talking about getting the scanners, why Hyder brought the scanners in. We had scanners at first, high-speed ones. But then, so hang on, we got a comment right here. So anyways, we had a scanner for a while. Then Hyder needed that. So then Barry went and bought some, but they were really slow. They weren't like high-speed scanners. So that was taking us a while. And we were asking Hyder, can we use your scanners again? He was like, Hyder was being coy with the scanners. And so then Barry went and was like literally calling around and trying to find places to rent or buy like a high-speed scanner. And he found some eventually, but it took a while. Let's see. So GT Yap says, if you're recounting election ballots that include some fraudulently created and inserted before the election day count, you will come up with the same fraudulent total. Exactly. Very, very important point. That's exactly right. And it's just like the public machine testing. It's super controlled. It's like, just recount this, and it's like, no, I don't. No, I want to look at everything. I don't want to just look at what you tell me to look at. I want to look at all this stuff, right? Exactly. So Joe says, weird. This is over on YouTube. Joe says, weird. It's strange that those usual types gravitate towards bright colors. So, like poison dart frogs. No, it's God's way of identifying toxic creatures. Okay. GT App says, a recount should not just be a recount, but a full audit to look for anything illegal, erroneous, or fraudulent. Yeah, and so, look, what we do with those records that the law says we have access to is our business. And it's not Jennifer's business what I'm going to do with those records. The law says I have access to those records. It's not her business. If I buy a towel and I use it on my hair, that's not her business. Versus if I use it on my feet, she'd be like, what are you going to do with this towel? Give me the towel. It's not, look, you don't have a right to tell me what to do with my towel. You don't have a right to tell me what to do with my election records. I have access to these, Jennifer. Shame on you. For shame. Sorry excuse for an election integrity advocate. There. I said it. All right. So, yeah, I mean, it's the federal law says we should have access to those records. What's the big deal, Jennifer and Morgan Meyer? Congratulations, Morgan. You are successful in sabotaging our any contest based on evidence. You did it. So GT App says, it appears that it was thwarted. Hopefully enough evidence of irregularities were documented to bring a case that will bring about the forcing of an actual exhaustive full audit, right? Because we can't count the SOS's audit as a full audit. That was a joke. The phase 1 audit progress report. This is what I called Alicia Simmons out for not reading at the last commissioner's court meeting, because she likes to roll her eyes at all of our work. And I was like, please don't roll your eyes when you still haven't even read phase 1 audit progress report by the Secretary of State. Okay, because even they can't audit our elections properly. I was like, why don't you go and look? Why don't you go and look and tell me why those precinct totals for those counties in the Texas Secretary of State's phase 1 audit progress report? Why do those precinct totals not match the county's cumulative report precinct totals for those races? Tell me why. I know why. Do you know why, Alicia Simmons? No, you don't. Because you don't pay attention. I told you. I told you once before, but it in one ear and out the other with some people. So, you know what though? It gets actually even a little bit worse, in my opinion, because what happens next is this has been drug out for so long. Barry's, like I said at the very beginning, Barry's an Orthodox Jew, right? So he has holidays that he observes, and he doesn't use technology during the course of those observances, right? So Jennifer likes to communicate then. She likes to communicate on his Sabbath, and during there's Passover, and there's one or two other ones where she likes to communicate during those times. Very, very rude, in my opinion. So, she was communicating things, and then Barry would have little time to actually respond. Things would happen like when he was not in communication, right? And he was getting really worried that they were going to close all of this stuff out if he went and observed Passover. And I think that it's a legitimate concern. So he brought it up with the SOS. I was like, look, I don't want this to be used against me. I have to go to Passover, and I don't want you guys to be like, make all these decisions because I don't respond during Passover. He didn't really get a response from that. But basically, that Friday, the SOS told Jennifer at Barry's request that they need to let Barry and his team, us, continue our scans. And she told her on the Friday before the recount was finally ended, let them finish scanning. Do not give those records back. Do not transfer custody of those records back to Hyder before they're done being scanned. Because that's going to ruin, we don't authorize you going back in once they've been handed, the custody's been transferred back, and it's almost publicly available. You need to let them finish their scans. Jennifer heard, if I give it back to Hyder, I'm legally protected, and I don't have to let them finish their scans. I can say, oops, boom, transferred him back to Hyder just like that. And then waited until Saturday to tell everybody that she transferred everything back. Saturday, which was Barry's Sabbath, right? Friday to Saturday, that time period, right? Friday night to Saturday night is the Sabbath. So she wanted to communicate then that everything was over, report is being finalized, and all the ballots were returned back to Hyder. And she was bold enough to cite the SOS segment saying that once you return them back, we're not going to recommend access. We're not going to recommend going back in there. So let them finish scanning. She cited that as saying, sorry, you can't finish your scans because once I transfer them back, you can't get back into them. Sorry. Oops. I'm just doing what the SOS says. That's how nasty she is. That's how nasty Jennifer Stoddard Haidu is. The SOS literally told her, do not transfer those back before they're finished being scanned because we're going to recommend you don't go back into them. So if they're going to, basically what she was saying, if they're going to complete their scans, you need to let them complete their scans before you transfer the custody back. Because then it's going to be over. Once you transfer it back, it's over. But they need to be allowed to make their scans. So when Jennifer goes around saying that she bent over backwards, I mean, I believe her in a way, but not for Barry. She bent over backwards, to prevent Barry from getting the documents that we would need to file an evidence-based contest. See, for a contest, and this is from an attorney, they were recommending that you're going to want to show certain things, right? It's not, you can't just file everything and just claim everything as a contest, right? So what I'm looking for is something, I'm looking for one of a couple of things, and then I'll take it to the attorney and see, is this good? So I'm looking for whether there's evidence that these are blatantly fraudulent ballots. These were like totally fake, fraudulently inserted. And we can tell that they're fake. We can prove that they're fake, that these are fake ballots. And say, if these ballots were not counted, these fake ballots were not counted, then my opponent would have won, or then my candidate would have won. That's what I want to be able to say. But that's really hard to do. Another thing that I want to try to find, in that stead, if I can't find blatantly fraudulent ballots, which I should show you the ones that we were allowed to make photocopies of. I should. I'm not going to right now, but I should. One day, soon, we will. I also need to find, did something facilitate a major change in the totals? Like, did something facilitate the totals being vastly different? And if this event didn't happen, the totals likely would have ended up differently. That's also very hard to prove. Okay, but when we were doing the recount, we were literally seeing fraudulent ballots, like in our opinion, ballots that were not necessarily, I can't guarantee that they were fraudulent, but they were not lawfully prepared. I can guarantee that part. These ballots were not lawfully prepared. Okay, I'm gonna put on some lip gloss. My lips are chapped right now. Sorry. That's why I'm drinking. That's why I have my water here. Anywho. I'm really tempted to show you some of the ballots because we've got ballots with weird font. Like the font is like all different sizes. And the thing about these election machines, right? These are like universally programmed across the county. Oh, I need to check in on the, meaning like they're all going to be programmed the exact same. There's not going to be some that have different fonts. You know what I mean? Shit makes me laugh sometimes. So that's what I'm talking about. Like, yeah. Okay. Oh, GT. Yeah. Oh, this is actually over on Rumble. So that's what we're looking for with the recount. That's what we need for a contest. We were totally obstructed from getting all of that stuff against federal law, against state law, against the EAC guidelines, and against the Texas Secretary of State's guidelines. Additionally, watchers were assaulted for no less than 4 assaults. They've all been reported. We were also thrown out for attempting to exercise our rights, and then I reported the obstruction, and I got thrown out for reporting the obstruction. So I was reporting a Class A misdemeanor, and then she tried to have me thrown out for making a false report, and then tried to criminally trespass me, which is a Class B misdemeanor. And the cops said they could enforce that, but they couldn't enforce the Class A election crime, Class A misdemeanor election crime, unless I go to the DA. So we dropped a lot of our statements off at the DA, waiting on an investigation to open up there to get a case number so we can follow through on that investigation. We also went the civil route, so that's the criminal route. Like, we filed everything that we could do criminally, which is, from the watcher's perspective, it's a Class A misdemeanor to obstruct a watcher. So every single time they told us no, that was a Class A misdemeanor. Okay? Every single time they physically stopped us from making a photocopy, that's a Class A misdemeanor. Okay. So we reported them. The assault is actually a Class C misdemeanor. This is weird. Like, it's all over the place. But the assaults are reported as well. They don't have any reports on us because we didn't do anything wrong. Straight up. And Hyder says, watcher Aubrey will not be allowed back in the room. She's just disturbing the peace, whatever, my ass. Okay. And then she says she's done this in Tarrant County too. And I was like, what have I done in Tarrant County? I don't have any issues in Tarrant County. That's a lie. Jennifer, you're lying. And I will quote you and ask Hyder if he is your source or if you're just pulling shit out of your ass again like you do, Jennifer. Okay. Jennifer has totally violated Barry's rights. She is a fraud. She's not about election integrity. She can never run on election integrity or election security ever again. Her little blog posts on the Dallas GOP blog, not fooling anybody, okay? You went down there to talk to the SOS. You totally missed the mark about the SOS giving out suspect legal opinions, okay? Suspect interpretation of state and federal statute. You didn't address any of that. You didn't address Keith Ingram just waiving state statute. I don't believe that you addressed any of that. If you did, you didn't put it in your blog post, and I felt like as though that was actually a very thorough blog post. If you had talked about that stuff, you probably would have mentioned it. Don't think you talked about it. I don't think you brought it up at all, Jennifer, because I think that your entire campaign was fraudulent. Jennifer Stoddard-Haidu is a fraud. Morgan Meyer is a rhino. They're both establishment uniparty clowns, for all I care. After Jennifer transferred the ballots back, effectively ruining our ability to get any evidence of what we knew were issues with the Dallas County primary election, Barry hired another attorney and filed a writ of mandamus, which the law says that the certain section we're standing on is enforceable by writ of mandamus. So it's really good when the law says that. But without even a response from Morgan Meyer's team or from Jennifer Stoddard, I was in Morgan Meyer's team, without even a response from Jennifer or from Matt Rinaldi, the corrupt clown circus that is the Dallas County Court of Appeals rejected the writ, said, no, I don't believe that you've established that your rights are violated. I don't believe that you've established that you need access to those records. It's like the law says I have access to those records. But the court was like, But it's Dallas. It's Dallas courts. They're kind of a joke. And the attorney was like, I have never seen anything rejected that fast. And it was we're standing on federal statute. We're literally standing on this right here. Federal statute that I know what I'm doing. Federal statute that says we have access to these freaking records. Thank you, Subpack Vet, for the shades. How you doing? How are all you guys doing? Subpack Vet, Uncensored Abe, Stacks, Titties and Beer, Matt1776, all of you guys over on Pilled and Foxhole, and then over on Run GT app. Yep. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Okay. This is in the Help America Vote Act. This was the law as it was written, as it was passed and voted on by the state legislature. Okay, this is Section 301, Voting System Standards. Audit capacity. Okay, it has to produce an auditable paper trail. This is for an electronic voting system. Has to produce an auditable paper trail. And the paper record produced under subparagraph A, which is the auditable paper trail, shall be available as an official record for any recount conducted. Okay? And let me just show you what all here's what I should do. I'm going to show you what subsection A says, because it says, in general, the voting system shall produce a record of audit capacity for such system. Okay? B, manual audit capacity. The voting system shall produce a permanent paper record with manual audit capacity for such system. Voting system shall provide the voter with an opportunity to change the ballot or correct any error before the permanent paper record is produced. Again, like I said, in Texas, you can spoil your ballot 3 times, but we've got reports of the machines changing people's votes, the ES&S in particular, because it shows multiple races on the screen. Calibration issue, probably, right? Where have we heard that before? Anywho, outgoing Dallas County Republican Party chair, and I like to qualify it with that because she was just voted out. Outgoing DCRP chair, Jennifer Stoddard-Haidu, and one of her top 5 donors, Barry's opponent, Morgan Meyer, and his attorney, Jonathan Neerman. A real bright bulb, that one. Worth every penny, Morgan. Have successfully sabotaged Barry Wernick's recount, and subsequently any election contest that he should have lawfully been able to file to show what was wrong with Dallas County elections. What went wrong. And there was a lot. There was a lot. In fact, we were allowed to make photocopies for a while. Several days we were allowed to, and then they shut it down. Hyder took the scanner. We had to go and buy scanners. It was a whole struggle. And they were preventing us that whole time. Once Hyder took the scanners, all of a sudden they were acting like we shouldn't even be making photocopies. It was weird. Jennifer Stoddard fired her first 2 recount committee chairs because they were being way too reasonable and they were allowing us access to, not everything that we wanted. They would go and ask for it from Hyder, and then they were allowing us to make photocopies. That was Sammy Bickham Jr. and Bruce Bishop were way too reasonable, allowing us to make photocopies. So they both got fired and replaced by Susan Fountain, Jennifer's cohort. A pathological liar. And it was Susan Fountain who was doing all of the assaults. Can you believe it? Yep. Throwing papers in people's face, hitting people's hands, grabbing people by the arm and pulling them away from the printer that Barry brought in, Barry's own printer. Oh, this really funny thing happened. These election workers came in and started like hovering around Barry's printer. And Barry's like, "Hey, what's up?" And they were like, "Oh, well, we heard that y'all were having trouble with the printer." And Barry was like, "Well, I mean, it's just slow. We were just trying to figure out how to make it scan faster." And they were like, "Oh, okay." And I was like, "This isn't y'all's printer, though. This is Barry's printer." And they were like, And they were like trying to like kind of sort of get involved and start messing with the printer. And I was like, "No, shoot, go away. Like, stop. This isn't even your printer. Like, y'all took your printer. We brought in our printer. We don't need your help. This is not your printer." And they were like, "Oh, okay." Like, they're being weird. We had to literally shoo them away. Like, go, you're dismissed. I think I said that to them. I wasn't trying to be rude. It just comes naturally sometimes. But I was like, you can go. Like, you're dismissed. Who called you? You know? And they were like, "Well, we just heard that." Okay. All right. Being weird. You're being vague and weird. So Joe Hoffman says, "It's okay. They're just fortifying the system," right? Just fortifying it. So again, all of this recount, total exercise in obstruction, cost Barry $18,000 so far, and I don't know if they've itemized the rest of what he's supposed to owe. I don't know. Nobody knows what they're doing or where that $10,000 went. They weren't even supposed to do that. They weren't even supposed to get that. Part of the writ asked for the judge to tell them to give the money back to him until the end of the recount. And the judge was like, nope. So the writ didn't work. That's great, right? You have corrupt judges. Writ didn't work. So there's a potential, I guess, to appeal the writ. But yeah, I don't know. This is what Jennifer Stoddard-Haidu has done. This is her legacy. She has successfully sabotaged a recount, a lawful recount, in which the watchers were able to reconcile everything and give a full report to the candidate about the fact that everything was looking good. Okay? She has successfully prevented an evidence-based election contest of Morgan Meyer's victory. Okay? And her legacy is that the Dallas County Court of Appeals, I wonder which court it was, I'll show it to you one day, they agree with her. They agree with her. So, Jennifer, Morgan Meyer, Matt Rinaldi, Christina Adkins from the SOS office, and the Dallas County Court of Appeals that tossed out the writ. This is the establishment. This is the uniparty. Because these are people of multiple parties that are all agreeing that the law doesn't matter. Law doesn't matter. The only laws that matter are the ones that they can use against us. But the ones that they decide to violate, we better not complain, because they're going to use it against us. They're going to turn around and use whatever they can against us. Yeah. So I really appreciate you guys. I do have, let's see. So I believe Barry is still fundraising for some of this, because there's still potential some civil remedy for us to obtain, but we're not quite sure. There was another recount in Tarrant County, so I'm going to go and learn everything I can about that recount. At the very least, we do have a lot of information about what's going wrong with Dallas County elections. We have a lot of stuff to tell the poll watchers to look for. And we've got some good legislation coming out of this, actually, that we're going to take down to the House and Senate and say, look, this is what we're dealing with. This is what the candidates and the people and the watchers are dealing with down at the ground level. This is the reality of the laws as they're written, so we need to make certain changes. So at least we'll have written testimony backing up the need for these changes. You know what I mean? So I believe Barry is still taking donations. I think it's WERNICK for Texas.com, I think. WERNICK for Texas.com. And you can give donations there. And then I also take donations as well. Let me see if I can put my banner up. Hang on, let me see. So I do have a Cash App. That's my Cash App, Taking TX Back. If y'all are interested in donating, I really appreciate it. I haven't, the watchers were all volunteers. But a lot of the watchers have put a lot of good work in. I'm all the way over in Tarrant County, so I got to drive over to Dallas. But it's been pretty enlightening, pretty eye-opening, but so much more work than we expected. The legislation that we're drafting out of this is actually very specific. So it's going to be like clarifying specific laws, basically related to everything. The conduct of the recount, the cost of the recount. We have specific legislation just for cleaning up these recount procedures, because this was just a mess. It was just an absolute mess. Not cool at all. Absolutely unacceptable, in my opinion, for a candidate to pay that much money. And honestly, I feel as though most candidates don't get this far. Most candidates don't get to the point where they're able to actually get the recount going, because it's very expensive. It's $100 a precinct. So a lot of candidates just get overwhelmed and they're like, man, I don't have enough left in my campaign funds. I'm going to have to pull out of my private funds, to do it. And so they just give up. They just say, screw it. But Barry was like, no, I've got enough left and let's pay for it. Let's do it. That's when they literally decided to, halfway through it, to charge him another $10,000. And they were telling people, oh, he'll be out of money soon. He'll be out of money soon. They knew what they were doing. They knew that they were running him down. And, when you start playing with people's money, in time, I think that in slandering him too, saying that we were the ones causing issues because we were asking for documents that we went in there expecting to be able to have. that should have been made available, like on top of each ballot box. Each of the records for that ballot box should have been there. Some of them were, some of them weren't. Sometimes none of them were. We have, oh, I didn't even go over with what we found. Besides the ballots with the weird font, we've got a lot of ballots with no judges' signatures on them. We had ballots that were not in the same range that were assigned to that location. We had missing ballots. The box with the most missing ballots had 14 ballots missing, and that was hand counted multiple times and run through the machine to try to identify if those ballots were just being miscounted. They were not in that box. 14. And there were other boxes that were missing ballots as well. These are electronic votes with no associated paper ballot. The final recount report is kind of a joke too, in all honesty, because it doesn't, for one thing, it doesn't even include any of the early voting, like, breakdowns. It has, like, the election day vote center breakdowns, but doesn't have the early voting vote center breakdowns, which is kind of bizarre. So it's kind of a joke on that front. But how can you say that Barry lost 10 votes at the end of the recount and that Morgan gained 5? First of all, that shows right there there's an issue with the machines. Even at 10, and that's like a 15 vote discrepancy. Are you serious? And we're just going to act like that's not a problem? How often is that first of all, how often is that happening? The machines are just counting wrong. Same with Tarrant. The machines just got it wrong. Straight up. They just got it wrong. But how can you determine that Barry's missing 10 votes, or Barry lost 10 votes, when we have over 14 ballots missing? Do you know what I'm saying? How can they determine that? Oh, thank you, Subpack Vet. You're so sweet. Am I doing okay? I don't know. Sometimes I go off on tangents. But so much has happened with this recount, and I'm trying to keep it all, relatively contained, because it's been really wild. Okay? But honestly, can y'all think of any way, like, I'm sitting here dumbfounded. They really put in that report that Barry lost 10 votes, Morgan gained 5, and that there are at least 14 ballots that were unaccounted for. Meaning we couldn't find them. And also, were those electronic votes counted? Did you not? So we're just missing 14 votes overall. There's no way to know if those 14 missing ballots were overvotes, undervotes, if they were all for Barry, or if they were all for Morgan, or half and half. We don't know. So that's really weird. So from the ballots that they've counted, it looks like Barry lost 10. So it looks like to me like they're ascribing some of those lost ballots that they can't find to have been Barry's that he just... What? Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm sitting here trying to work this out in my head. Like, how the hell can you... Where's the logic here? Where is the freaking logic? Yeah, it was absolutely thwarted. The entire recount. Any hope of a contest. And again, 14 missing ballots. That was from literally just one location. UPUMC. Any of you guys out there working UPUMC, watch out. And follow those ballots. All the poll watchers, we're going to do a poll watchers training coming up very soon. There's going to be a big emphasis this time on poll watchers following the ballots from the location all the way to the rally station or all the way to central count. We can't have these ballots going MIA and then like the chain of custody's all messed up. You know what I'm saying? Like it's unacceptable, and so we just got to put our foot down at a certain point, because here's our philosophy at taking back Texas. Like with most American philosophy, if there's not a law against something, it's like, well, it's technically legal. It's not illegal, right? But with respect to election procedures, because Article 1, Section 4 is clear that only the state legislature or Congress can decide that the manner and regulations of elections, that shows that it needs to be a legislative body that's designing the elections, and the elections need to adhere to their design. You don't need to go outside of their design. Anything outside of that design is not authorized. You can't be winging it. You can't say, well, it's not illegal. All right? That's our philosophy, which is why part of the legislation that we're taking down is adding a due penalty, like anywhere from a Class C to a Class C misdemeanor to a Class A to a felony, to every chapter of the election code for the violation thereof. If it's a crime, we have a little bit more of a shot of getting something done about it. If there's no penalty associated with the election code, then people will violate it and they'll be like, oops. Oh, did I break the law? Thought it said something else. Sorry. That's how they're acting. That's how Jennifer was acting. Again, the Secretary of State was clear with her that we needed to be allowed to finish our scans before she returned custody to Hyder, because after she returns custody to Hyder, it's gonna be considered over, and she's not gonna authorize additional access to those records. It's gonna be over. You're gonna do the final recount, and then that's it. You're gonna do the final report, and that's it. And so the SOS told Jennifer that, and so in her mind, she goes, okay, that's my out. I'll just transfer them all back over to Hyder, and I'll pretend like I misunderstood her and said, and thought she told me to transfer them back over, and then it just won't be, they just won't be allowed to get back in. Oops. She just said, I'm just following what the SOS says. She's a liar. So, so the end result is recount sabotaged. Lawful contest sabotaged. Writ of mandamus shot down by the deep state. Jennifer Stoddard Haidu and Morgan Meyer, along with Christina Atkins from the SOS, and the Dallas County Court of Appeals, have successfully violated federal election law, state election law. Okay? The SOS violated their own guidelines, and the EAC guidelines have been violated. All right? That's the end result. Lots of law violations, and no one knows what we're going to be able to do about it because the legislature, through non-delegation, gave too much power to these little bureaucratic branches, right? These little bureaucratic offices, and they didn't build in a kill switch to say if those agencies that we're creating go rogue, how are we going to rein them back in? How are we just going to let them be like a tornado and create all of this chaos and legal gray area to where the laws can be violated regularly and nothing can be done about it? You need to be able to stop it before it gets to that point. We're 20 years into this freaking tornado, and at this point, we've got to literally manually reverse it. It's going to be an uphill battle. It's going to be very painful. No accountability. Not in Dallas because of Jennifer Stoddard Haidu and one of her top 5 donors, Morgan Meyer. Okay, congratulations, Morgan. You've done it. Very clever girl. He's a he, but whatever. It's 2024. You never know. He's also, like, definitely not a conservative. So he's definitely a rhino. So you never know with those people. No accountability. Nope. I mean, I don't know what else to say. We are waiting. We're talking with the attorneys, and we're going to see what other recourse we have, and we'll try it. But it looks like right now, Jennifer Stoddard Haidu, this is probably why you were voted out. I'm going to be honest with you. This is probably why your executive committee is fed up with you and your lies. And anybody that believes the things that you say, I mean, I'm sure you do a really good job of looking like a good guy. Jennifer, you do a really good job. And you do this blog post over here. Let's show this. You do this little blog post and make yourself look, like you're actually doing something. Okay. And it's totally fraudulent. This is when she met with the SOS. Okay. Totally fraudulent. She brought Wes Bowen, who was her chair of election. He was a chair of the election security committee in Dallas County. They didn't talk about anything that they needed to talk about. And they have no explanation for what they reportedly did talk about. They supposedly went down there to talk about, you remember how the last midterms, the poll books in Dallas County, it seemed to be checking a lot of people in after the polls closed. It was like the totals were jumping up. Well, and those were like trained election judges that were noticing those things. They were like, I have to write those numbers down. Like I've got to, those numbers have to match mostly with the amount of ballots that were cast, you know, the amount of people that we checked in. There would be some discrepancies with spoliation of ballots and stuff like that. Okay, but well, spoiling ballots. I don't know if spoiling and spoliation are actually the same thing, but some spoiled ballots will happen. So there will be slight discrepancies in the ballots used and the amount of people checked in. But they basically know that they have to reconcile that those people checking in were legitimate voters. Okay, well, as you remember, the Gateway Pundit actually did a story on it. The numbers were just shooting up at the close of the polls, and they were like, whoa, what's going on? And there was no explanation given from Michael Scarpello. There was, but it was a joke. And that's what they said that they went down to talk to the Secretary of State about. But they have no explanation for it. Even her own freaking blog post doesn't say anything about what they're going to do. Let's scroll down to the bottom and see what is their solution. Let's see. Some comments. Thank you for educating the Secretary of State and many others. Shut up. Oh, sorry. I don't mean to be rude. Oh, let's see. She just says, call your state. Wes and I began the meeting with a detailed description of the 2022 post-election surges, followed by continued movement and live e-poll books 7 days after the election. Yeah, because this was stuff that was brought to her, and Jennifer saw an opportunity to make it look like she was doing something so she could campaign on it, because she really wanted to stay CRP chair. But she's out. So she says, this is what she should... She says, next, our election integrity expert presented a PowerPoint. So that was another one, and he showed her something. Our presentation was well received by the secretary and her staff. We discussed possible alternatives and the need for legislation in order to move forward to a plausible, trustworthy, paper ballot, hand-counted voting system. She does not mean any of that. She wouldn't even let us look at the ballot registers to make sure that the ballots that we were recounting were the ones that were assigned to that location that were supposed to be there. A simple thing to allow us to look at and check off. She doesn't mean anything that she says. Oh yeah, she was there with, that was Tan Parker. And she was there with Tan Parker too. In order to encourage the SOS office to assist Senator Parker with Governor Abbott in bringing forth such legislative changes, Abbott has not put elections as, this is another thing. So sorry guys, I was still reading her post. This is another thing. Why is she fronting? You don't gotta lie to kick it, Jennifer. You don't gotta lie. Abbott is not interested in election security. We have asked him several times. That is not on his list of legislative priorities. He will not call a special session for that. We've known that. This is not something that Abbott's going to champion. This is a ridiculous position for Jennifer Stoddard-Haidu to take. This is an establishment rhino fraud speaking, okay? That's how you know she's fake. That's how you know. You know how I know you're fake? Is because you're sitting here trying to gaslight us that Governor Abbott is interested in bringing forth legislative changes to secure elections. This is the first I've heard of it, if he is. And he should really come out. He really, if he was dead serious, he would make this number one priority. Unless he has, other than what's in his direct authority to do, like closing down the border. Whatever he has the authority to do to secure Texas, he needs to do that. What he doesn't have the authority to do, which is legislative changes securing elections, this should have been one of his top legislative priorities last session, and it was not. So it's weird. It's just weird that she's going to try and gaslight people. And I don't know about Tan Parker. I'm not trying to say anything about Tan Parker, okay? Some people like him, okay? I hear good things. So I'm not saying anything about Tan Parker. But what I am saying is that Governor Abbott did not make election security one of his legislative priorities. So don't try to act like he did. Don't try to act like y'all are working on something big. Okay. Our expert and I will request the Secretary's support for our efforts to obtain the changes needed to begin what we hope can and will be a transition back to secure elections. I believe that with the support of the 5 largest counties, this is one thing that I liked of her, and I think she was bullshitting here too, guys. I think she was bullshitting, and I'm willing to call these other chairs and say, hey, were you right? Was she right about this? She says the 5 other largest counties in Texas want to go back to paper ballots. She's trying to say that the 5 she called GOP chairs in all these other counties. Okay. She did right here. Um, most most of the county chairs I spoke to share our concerns and support the effort to end e-poll books and countywide voting, specifically including Dallas. I believe we can count on the support of Harris, Bexar, Tarrant, and Travis counties, 5 of the largest counties in the state of Texas. Can you see this? I was like, Jennifer, if this is real, that's good. But then literally nothing came of it. And she's not talking about the biggest issue with countywide voting because she's not serious about any of this stuff. This is just something that people that have money brought to her as a concern. And she wanted them to donate to her campaign. This is all this is. And this is how much she thinks of you. She thinks she can just write one little blog post, one little half-assed blog post, and she didn't even write this. Okay? And impress you guys. That's how little she thinks of y'all. And I don't think that all of these people are going to do that, because all of these people that she talked to are voting members of the county election board and commission in their county, and they could prioritize this, and they could make the arguments for and against it. They could do all of this stuff. Oh yes, thank you so much. Yeah, so how do you say your name over on Rumble? Ervik, I'm not sure how to say your name. Says, I know you've been fighting hard, and thank you for exposing these morons. Yeah, it's really, really bad. So we've been dealing with it in Tarrant County for a while, and thank you for watching. Thank you for watching and understanding that this recount for Barry Wernick was absolutely sabotaged from the very beginning by our own party. Hyder had a small role in it, but the most of this was what looks like a coordinated effort between Morgan Meyer's campaign and the outgoing DCRP chair Jennifer Stoddard-Hyde to make sure that Barry wasn't going to be able to have enough evidence to file a contest. So this is Jennifer fronting right here, and I would challenge all of you guys to not call her. She's gone. She's irrelevant now, other than what she's done to Barry's recount. Which, again, we have only a certain amount of time to file a contest, and the recount is when we are able to get the information for the contest. I would highly recommend everybody calling the chairs of these county GOPs. So, Harris County GOP chair, Bexar County GOP chair, Tarrant, and Travis. You'll get a positive response from the new GOP chair in Tarrant. He'll say, yeah, we've been working with him, and he's somewhat reasonable. Sometimes I don't like what he says, but he's open to getting rid of the countywide polling as soon as possible and closing our primaries so that we don't have like joint election boxes to where all of our ballots are all mixed up with the Democrats. You know what I mean? He's going to try to get that secured for Tarrant County as well. But I would highly recommend everybody call these county GOP chairs and say, hey, look, Jennifer Stoddard-Hyde quoted you as saying you want to get rid of the countywide polling location. So can we count on you? And I'm going to be calling. Can we count on you to meet us down in Austin and help us push this legislation repealing Texas Election Code 43.007, which is what authorizes the countywide polling? Over on Rumble, Hal West says, President Trump has been calling on Republican governors to get rid of voting machines, to go to paper ballots, same-day voting, and same-day results. Why is Abbott not on board? And he endorsed Trump. Thanks, Aubrey. Oh, no, thank you, and thank you so much. And so, Abbott would probably say to your face that he is down for all of that, but last session, he did not make it one of his legislative priorities, which means that if the regular session where they pass all the laws closes out without some really important bills coming through, then the governor can call like a special session. And the special session can be for one of the governor's legislative priorities. He didn't put election security as one of his legislative priorities, right? So that's kind of how you know, like how serious he is about some stuff. It's like, oh, okay, well, but he'll say all this stuff, but what's he gonna do? Is he going to make it to where if they don't pass these election laws in the first regular session, that he will order them to reconvene Because that's when he goes, nuh-uh, come back and pass these laws that the people sent you up here to pass, right? Like if they waste time. So they wasted a lot of time this last session with the Paxton impeachment, right? So there was like 4 special sessions called after that because Abbott kept saying, nope, nope, get your ass back here. They were pissed at the House impeachment team for doing what they did. And he called like 4 special sessions and was like, get back here and pass these bills. So, but he can do that, but it has to, you know, if it's not something that he cares about, he's not going to do it. And he did not make election security something he cared about. It was, I think, the border, and it was like a gender modification for children. A couple other things, but it wasn't elections. So he'll get there, you know. The closer it gets to election day, he starts to get a lot more active. But that's kind of how Abbott is, you know. Sometimes we like him, sometimes we don't like him. Sometimes he does what we like. Sometimes he makes us mad. I mean, he's establishment too. He is. But he sometimes does. He's still the governor of Texas. He's still a more badass governor than a lot of other people's governors. But that's not to say he's perfect. He's not. You know, he's not. He upsets us sometimes. And it is upsetting that elections are not one of his legislative priorities that he would call a special session for. Yeah. That just means we get one shot. We get one session to pass our bills when we go down this time. So, but again, I mean, you know, we're not sure what's going on with this recount, but Barry's still collecting. Barry's still taking donations if y'all want to donate to Barry. If y'all want to donate to me, I don't know if this will work, but this is my Cash App. Hang on, let me see if this will work. This is my Cash App code. I'll leave it there in case you want to. Anybody want to send me any money? That'd be great. I don't always get paid for my stuff. I work a couple of jobs. That's that. I have a Venmo too, and a PayPal. I think it's all down there. But let me see. That's my Venmo in case y'all want to send that too. Anything is appreciated. I was gonna set up one of those buy me a coffee things where you can just like send like $3, but I don't know what happened there. It like didn't really work. Didn't really get set up. I don't know if buy me a coffee is Patriot owned. And if y'all know of a good Patriot owned mobile cash service, let me know because I'll switch over. Because right now I just have the Venmo, I have the Cash App and PayPal. And I have, if you have my number, I have Zelle. But I have to get my number out to people for that one, so that's okay. How Wes says, sorry I misspelled your name. Exactly. Yeah, Abbott just does enough to appear conservative. He's not, I mean, he's more conservative than, he's actually conservative. Yeah, he's not like Beto. Like, I definitely voted for him over Beto. So, over on Pilled, yeah, okay, Stack says Abbott's a shit stain. Yeah. Might have stopped raining long enough to do a cardboard burn. I don't know. It's been raining so hard here in Texas. Is that where you're at? Where are you at, Abe? Because we have been having wild thunderstorms. Hey, Mark Jason Walker, how are you? I don't think I've seen you here before. So, you would buy me a latte if it was lib owned. Would be buy me a latte if it was lib. Yeah, I think you're right. I don't know who does the buy me a coffee thing. I was gonna set that up. I don't know how to do all of that though. I started to set it up and then I think I just got probably overwhelmed with the amount of work that we're doing. And I do have some photocopies of stuff that I would like to show you, but I'm gonna wait until to see what we're gonna do, what Barry wants to do, with everything that we do have. Because there was a few days in which we were allowed to make our photocopies, you know. So that's what happened. That's Jennifer Stoddard Haidu's legacy. Okay. that she's on board with House impeachment managers. Oh, Texans for Lawsuit Reform was another one of her largest donors. They were a big funder of the Paxton impeachment waste of time. That, we actually did surprisingly get some good election laws passed last session. I say surprisingly because they were really good, they were really important, and they got through. There were a lot of other good bills. But we could have had a lot more. We could have had a lot more. We could have really secured Texas election last session if it wasn't for that little mutiny. But yeah, so I mean, if you guys have any questions, let me know. Hey, Melindy. Oh, Melindy, you're so sweet. Melindy is really one of. Melindy is over on Rumble, and Melindy says, "Well, Snap, just saw you were live. So it will be good to listen later, though. I'll send you a Cash App." Yes. Now, Melindy, this has just a little bit more information. We're still ongoing, and I'll recap it again here for you, Melindy, real quick. But you can watch it later and get some of the details. And I was a little sarcastic earlier, and I was showing some stuff. Unfortunately, once again, the website with all of the state statutes is down for maintenance, so I can't show anybody any of the state statutes that I'm talking about. but it's chapter 213 and 215 in the election code if y'all want to go look at it later. But they're down, and the SOS site is down, so I can't show them the SOS thing. Anyway, the deep state they're just busy today working on Sunday. But would you believe it? They're working on Sunday on the website. But so basically, Melindy, Barry paid for the recount, the lawful amount, was randomly charged an additional second deposit. You probably know about that. We've been obstructed for 3 weeks, on and off. Jennifer Stoddard Haidu's been firing the chairs because they keep letting us exercise our rights. She finally gets a chair in there that's going to successfully block us and just stall. She's running out the clock is what she was doing to Barry. He kept asking for SOS intervention. SOS would step in and say, hey, you need to stop. You need to let him have access to that. There's one email from the SOS said that some of the documents he was asking for were outside of the scope of the recount, but they weren't because, and you'll see earlier, we go over this law right here, which is the Help America Vote Act. Okay. The paper record produced under subparagraph A shall be available as an official record for any recount conducted with respect to any election in which the system is used. So they're trying to say basically that all of the other records we were asking for are outside of the scope of the recount and that we should only have the actual ballots to recount. And it's like, well, but no, there's other aspects too. But then you go into state law. Here's the federal law. Then you go into state law, and the state law does say that we have access to supporting documents, which is going to be the chain of custody. Make sure that these were legitimate ballots, that there is a chain of custody. We've got chain of custody missing. We've got broken chain of custody. We've got forged signatures on chain of custody. We've got ballots with weird font on them, different size and different kinds of font. That's weird. Well, different size for sure. We'd have to really get down into it to see, are these fonts actually different? So, we've had, missing ballots, straight up missing ballots. We have ballots that are weird. We do have ballots that are weird colors. We don't have any that are pink, but that was my question, was if we see something that's your question, they're telling us, well, how do you know this ballot's unlawful? Well, it doesn't look right. It looks weird and it doesn't follow the law. It doesn't have a signature. This ballot, the range is off. I'm like, I don't know. They don't know what to do about it. The SOS was like, I don't know. You just recount them, I guess, and decide whether you want to throw it out, because the chair has the ability to do that. The chair of the recount can say, I'm not counting this ballot. I'm throwing this weird ballot out. This ballot's weird. It doesn't look lawful to me, That's what the recount chair can do. But they were terrified, and Morgan Meyer's team and Jennifer Stoddard were going around saying all kinds of crazy stuff, that we were causing all kinds of trouble because we were asking for the documents that state law says we should have and that we need in order to prove that the ballots that we're recounting are lawful ballots. They're prepared lawfully and they're handled lawfully, and that nothing was illegally inserted anywhere. Yes. Yeah, I mean, we are. We're confirming independently all of these different issues in multiple counties. Exactly. Melindy says, oh, wait. Irvik, I'm sorry if I'm not saying your name right, says, what's your feeling on the upcoming election after you've been going through this? Because they want to steal Texas. Yeah, they've been wanting to steal Texas. Oh, yeah, we've been doing this. I've been doing this in Tarrant County since early 2021. My feelings are we still need to go out and vote. You still need to go out and vote. I highly recommend you vote on election day and at your precinct level voting location, the one that's in your precinct. Highly recommend that. And try to do it on election day if you can, if possible. That's the best way to prevent them from stealing it. And there's other reasons too why you need to vote in precinct. We'll go over those later. I don't know. I can't really release it right now. But yeah, we still need to go and vote. Yeah, you still need to. You can't if you can't give up and you can't say anything like that. So if anyone seems like they're discouraged, just encourage them. You know, we still need to go out and vote. Yes. Melindy says the work cross verifies each other's work. It's up on multiple platforms. Yes. So wait. So Melindy says, I hope y'all have noticed Jovan did a great show today about needing to quit the bickering and have the data tech forensic boots on the ground peeps begin working together. Yeah, that's true. We do need to quit bickering. We do. And Sharona Bishop needs to stop setting people up for felonies, and she needs to stop trying to get people fired. I would work fine with all of these people, but some of these people have come trying to attack me, and I'm like, why are you doing that to me? It's weird. But I agree. We all need to stop. And Melindy says another thing you need to do. Melindy, I agree. Get informed about all the candidates. A really good resource is going to be Ballotpedia. Ballotpedia. They have really good rundowns of all the different candidates. So Ballotpedia is a really, really good source for you guys to see who all's filed for all these different races and go and check out their websites. And you can kind of see what you like. So Melindy said, oh wait, Hal West says, have you seen Lone Raccoon on X? He has been putting out data on voter rolls and huge problems. Yeah, I know about the Lone Raccoon. His data is a little more technical, like on the technical side. What we're documenting is like the effects of the election procedures that they have in place, the effects of them, because there's a lot we can document as watchers. We can go and say, oh, hey, that's not reconciling, and that's because of this thing, right? So we go and document that. There's a lot, and there are blatant violations that we're documenting. But the ones that what we're working on is not actually like from inside the machines. So, but yeah, so look, God bless him if he's working on all that, and he can sort out the CVRs and everything. Melindy says Jovan's show today addressed just that. His work cross verifies Jeff's. Okay, there you go. And I know that, look, I don't know about Jeff O'Donnell or otherwise known as the Lone Raccoon. I don't know about what beef he and Jovan have, but it's like so many people in the movement have beef with one another that it just gets so old. It is frustrating, Irvik. That's why I laugh a lot about this. I try to kind of have a sense of humor about it, you know? Even though it's very frustrating. It's very frustrating. And you lose sleep, you know? I had a pounding headache last week just randomly, and I thought I was getting sick, but I think it was just stress because I woke up the next day and I felt fine. Yeah, so Melindy says it plugs a question that Jeff has. Yeah, look, let's see if we can get them to stop catfighting. I don't know if we can, or at least if somebody can get well versed enough in both of their fields of work to compare it. Irvik says, are you still involved in Tarrant County also? Yes, I am. Yes. Oh, and Melindy says it's not Jeff personally, just some of the players in that circle. Yeah, it's a treacherous circle that the raccoon is in. I don't know Jeff O'Donnell personally, I really don't. But The circle of people that are around him are very antagonistic. They like to manufacture drama. I don't know about Jeff, but I cannot deal with a lot of the people in his circle. And it's not that I won't work with him. It's just that some of the people in his circle are just problematic. So, M1911 over on Pilled and Foxhole. What's up? Duppy. I didn't even read your name last time. Duppy says, yeah, it would be buy me a latte if it was lib owned. Zell me, baby. Mark, you want you want my Zell? Yeah, we can go. Yeah. What's Duppy, you got a show? Off the Rails? Let's go. We can go on there. All right. Okay, well, Mark, I mean, hey, I mean, if you want to DM me, Mark, on over on Pilled, your number, because it blocked out your number. I don't know if you blocked that out or what, but if you want to support, I'm happy. I would very much appreciate the support, because this is absolutely insane. What's been going on? So we've got all of this stuff documented in Tarrant County for a couple of years. Now we're working over in Dallas County as well. I mean, we've had people in Dallas County that were conducting, investigations and doing different type of things, but this is like the biggest effort in Dallas County elections that I've ever seen for like an election that we can actually still do something about, because we were still within the time allotted in order to file a contest or to or not even just like we had a couple of different options that we could do, but the way that they handled this recount, everything was ruined from like nearly from the beginning, right? So we're actually going to have to go down and fix the laws. We're going to have to take it to some of our senators and House reps, specific laws about conducting recounts, because if you're doing a recount and you're paying thousands and thousands of dollars in order to make sure that the totals are accurate, don't you want to know that the ballots are, don't you want to know that the ballots that you're counting are legitimate ballots? Like, if they're not legitimate ballots, why would you count them? Sorry, I don't mean to get mad. If they're like, you shouldn't be counting illegitimate ballots. Sorry. Everybody agrees. And if the freaking statutes were working, I could show you. I could show you exactly what I'm talking about. The website's still down though. So everything's still down. SO's website is down. State statutes website is down. Perfect timing. Right whenever I'm free to come and give you guys like a full update as to what's been happening. But I really appreciate you. Duppy says Aubrey would tear us all a new one on that show. Maybe. So yeah, I mean, so we're gonna try to get back to these are our legislative priorities for this upcoming session. Okay, we need due penalties added to every single chapter of the election code. So if you violate it, because like I said, you shouldn't be going outside of the prescribed election procedures. Article 1, Section 4 of the National Constitution says the state legislature or Congress designs our elections. It doesn't say you just make it up. It says they design the elections, and then that's the lawful procedure. And you don't go outside of that. Not with elections. Okay? It's really important that we actually do that. So we're adding a due penalty to everyone, but then we also need an enforcement mechanism, because what we're actually going to do is make the sheriff the enforcement mechanism. At the county level, we're going to codify that into law, because what's happening right now is when we're reporting election crimes to sheriffs, they're not able to investigate without the DA telling them to and the Secretary of State confirming that it's actually a crime. What we're reporting is the facilitation of fraud without detection by the Secretary of State. We don't want We don't want the sheriffs asking the Secretary of State, is this a crime, when the Secretary of State just did that? When the Secretary of State just authorized it. It is a crime. It's a crime. But if the Secretary of State authorizes it, then the sheriff is going to say, well, the DA is not going to prosecute it. And let me tell you something about these Soros DAs, okay? If the DA is not going to prosecute a crime, the sheriffs are not going to put themselves and their deputies and law enforcement officers not going to put themselves in the line of fire to go and arrest somebody that they know is just going to be back out on the street later. That's why in so many of these cities where George Soros funded DAs, they're not even enforcing the laws anymore because the DAs aren't going to take them to court. So why would the cops put themselves in the line of fire? You know? It's actually promoting police brutality if you think about it. You don't even have to think hard about it. If they could exercise qualified immunity and just shoot criminals on the spot before there's any due process, that might be what ends up happening. And I am not condoning that. I'm saying this is why you don't want Soros DAs who won't enforce the law, because then the cops won't enforce the law in that way. We already have an issue a little bit with qualified immunity. I mean, cops can get away with a lot because of that stuff. And we might need to look at that, but at the same time, they should have some qualified immunity because they are putting their lives on the line to enforce the law and they deal with a lot. So I'm not trying to, I really do back the blue. I'm not saying they're perfect, but look, these Soros DAs need to stop, and all these little bleeding hearts need to stop acting like they're afraid of police brutality when what they're facilitating is more police brutality. Because the police, if they just beat your ass and get away with it because of qualified immunity instead of trying to arrest you and have you taken to court. DA is not going to take the case to court. So beat your ass now and be done with it. And hopefully that'll teach you a lesson. That's kind of like, maybe I'm very Irish, but that's what it's in my mind. That's where it's going. This is why we really need to be careful. George Soros, he's ugly, but he's not stupid. All right, he's a bastard, but he was very surgical with what he was doing. He knew that the DAs were going to be the what's that? The Jenga piece? No, there's a better term for what I'm trying to say. They were going to be the pin, right? You pull that, everything's screwed. There's no point in anyone doing anything. There's no point in the laws if you have DAs that won't prosecute. Oh my God. So we want the sheriffs to be the enforcement mechanism. Long story short. We're adding the due penalty. We're adding sheriff as the enforcement mechanism. We're binding the Secretary of State. This is the other thing we're doing. Okay? All of the non-delegation laws that say, the Secretary of State can create rules to implement this section. We have a lot of laws like that in Texas that says Secretary of State can create rules. It's such a lazy thing, honestly. It's called non-delegation when legislature gives another branch some of their authority, mainly the executive branch. Executive branch is supposed to be an enforcement branch. They're not supposed to create the laws. That's what the legislature's supposed to do. So here we have a lazy legislature saying they'll think of something. We're going to authorize these computerized voting systems, and we're going to let the Secretary of State come up with the way how to implement this section where we've authorized the use of these systems. That's how vague the laws are sometimes. And that's called non-delegation, and that's bullshit. And that's the first pillar of an administrative state, which we do find ourselves in direct contrast to a representative republic. We are in an administrative state. The administrative state is the deep state. It's the administrative deep state. It's real. It's real, y'all. It's getting real. Let me tell you about the deep state. But they take the cops to court. Well, yeah. Well, cops will get away with it. Except for George Floyd. And I will say, that was a weird situation, you know. I think George Floyd was overdosing, and I think he needed medical attention. That's my opinion. I don't think the guy should have gotten life, though. It was a bad situation in a bad city. right? Yeah, it's not that, well, and so it does say, so Ervik says again, everyone is so corrupt. Yeah, there's a lot of corrupt people, but there are more good people. It's just that the corrupt ones are a lot, like, they have like a vigor and they're a lot, like, more, they're more outgoing in trying to make sure that they're able to get what they need. Like, some people are really manipulative. And yeah, a lot of the corrupt people will develop skills. They'll be very charismatic, they'll run for office. They'll try to get people to trust them. And then they'll just get in there just to do whatever the hell they want. Hal West says massive corruption in the courts, not just DC, New York, and Georgia. Look what's happening to Trump. Yep. Yep. So I guess we got to go and look back and see, when did he start funding all of these, Soros? Was it the judges and then the DAs, or was it, it's probably he's running several plays at once, right? But yeah, so another legislative priority is abolishing the countywide polling place program, which in Texas, Texas Election Code 43.007, just abolishing it, repealing it totally. And there are a few others, and but before we can get rid of the machine, let me tell you, before we can get rid of the machines, we have to rein in the Secretary of State. No, wait, but let me tell you why getting rid of countywide polling will very likely render the electronic poll books completely useless. Let me tell you why, okay? Because electronic poll books were pushed at the same time as these countywide vote centers in a lot of places, especially in Texas, okay? They go hand in hand. With in-precinct voting, the cost is not justified for the e-poll books, because you could just really cheaply print a paper poll book, right? In order to justify the cost of these paper poll books, you needed to also have a county-wide program to justify the need for them to be connected and to talk together and to be all computerized. There are a number of issues with the countywide polling place program, and I've listed them before. I've done shows about them, and I'll do more shows about them coming up. Probably one very soon, actually, because we've got something big that we're working on, but I don't know if we can talk about it yet. But very soon we're going to be doing a big thing with the countywide polling place program. We don't know, if we go back to in-precinct voting, the e-poll books are totally useless. All right, straight up. They're useless. We don't need them. You can bind the e-poll books to only show and to only allow people to check in from wherever. You could limit it to a certain amount of precincts or to one precinct. But that doesn't justify the cost of the poll books. It's much cheaper just to print a paper poll book for each polling location. Much cheaper. You know what I mean? And more secure. There's no hacking. There's no adding people in last minute. It's like, you're on this or you're not. You're either in this book or you're not. Right? Mark Jason Walker sent a 4-leaf clover. Are you Irish? Let's see. Oh, yeah. Because I said I was Irish. I said I might be Irish because I'm thinking, aren't these cops just going to beat people up? Like, isn't that logically where this is going to go? That if the DAs aren't prosecuting and the cops catch somebody in the act, that it's just going to lead to kind of more direct violence. So anyways, get rid of the e-poll books. Okay. Go back to voting in precinct, and look. Let me say something. I keep getting serious, but then I'm like, no, I can't tell them that. I will say this. I can say this. Very soon, we will give people we will be providing you with compelling reasons to vote in your voting precinct. Very compelling. Very compelling. And that's all I can say about that. All right. Watch out for that and vote in your precinct. Be prepared to vote in your voting precinct. No matter what state you're in, if you've got a voting precinct and there is a place where you can go that is limited for that precinct, do that. Like, you're assigned, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're assigned voting place. Do that. We will show, I'll tell you why in a little bit, but not right now. So thank you guys for being here. All right. Yeah, so again, that was a crazy recount. I didn't expect it to go like that. I didn't expect it to cost this much money. Well, I mean, and then Barry had to retain the attorney, right? To sue, or not sue, to file the writ of mandamus to get them to follow the law. And the judge was like, corrupt Dallas County Court judge, you know. It was the Court of Appeals, really. But the attorney was like, so they denied it. There wasn't even a response from the people that we named as having violated the law. And having consistently violated the law. There was no response from Jennifer or Matt Rinaldi, who were the ones that were named. Okay, DM'd you. GT Yap says DM'd you on Brave. Okay, Badlands. All right, you're gonna go watch Badlands. All right, you guys, y'all go do that. If y'all can DM me anything that you want, any questions that you have. If you want to get involved, you can feel free to DM me. Send me your name and number, and I will and your email. You can also go to our websites. If you haven't seen our websites, I might as well show you our websites. This is my website right here. Where's my keyboard? I'll show you my website. This is my first website, okay? This is takingbacktexas.org, and it's still loading, but this is it. So this is the OG, the original, where we have all of our original reports. This one is one of my latest ones, but even though it came out last year, the deep state is real. That's from an old election. I do need to update my website. Okay, here's a little presentation on county vote centers. In case you've got some concerns, this presentation may validate some of your concerns. On network connections in our elections, y'all can feel free to come. All of our reports are available for free on our website. Okay, so y'all can get caught up to where we're at. What all we've documented in Texas and in other states too. Okay, let me show you our newest website. I swear I keep using the wrong one. This is our newest website here. We've gone national. So this is our latest website, TBTR. Okay, this is Taking Back the Republic. You can sign up on this website. On this website, we will be offering, see, these are all different items. You know, we've got legislative priorities. Let me give you a rundown. So up at the top, we've got our home tab. We've got the deep state, which is our report on the deep state is real. This is our report on the administrative deep state. Okay. All right. Then we have me. I don't know what's going on. I just like started sneezing and coughing. This is, you've got to sign in to see how we use our affidavits. Okay. Then go back to the home tab. Now right here, okay, we have election security training that we will be offering soon, and I've been doing that for a couple of years. Train people in a couple of different counties, probably 6 different counties now in Texas. We've got Get Out the Vote consulting efforts that we do. I make these really nice interactive maps, and I'm happy with them. I'm actually super proud of them, my interactive maps. And they're really good for canvassing, or like putting together just different things. I'll use my maps for my poll watchers a lot to give them all the different voting locations so they know where to go to. All right. Then we've got deep state awareness courses. This is just where we go over, we just keep citizens apprised of what the administrative deep state is, what they're doing, where these initiatives are originating, different initiatives. And you'll see them. I don't want to go too much into detail right now because it's in part of my trainings too. So this is just keeping you apprised of who's pulling the strings in the background for which national initiatives are being pushed suspiciously in every single state. See? All right, affidavits. We use them as an investigative tool, so we can show you what we do with our affidavits, and you can decide if you want to do it as well. Affidavits are not required from all of my poll watchers. This is something people get weird and nervous about affidavits. We don't require them. This is totally optional. We just tell you what we do. So if you see something that you want to use an affidavit for, you can have a better idea of what to do. All right, we go over legislative priorities. Okay, this is where, and now we haven't released this yet because what we're trying to do is we're trying to make sure that they're worded properly, that they're worded in a way that is nonpartisan, and that people, that representatives can go and almost immediately file them without having to do too much work, because what we want is to make sure the language is accurate for what we know we need to do, but we don't want it to be so broad that they have to go back in there and rework the language for our legislative priorities, that it like kind of misses the mark. That happens sometimes, and we don't want that to happen. So we haven't released our legislative priorities yet. We're about to, and we will release those as we kind of perfect the language there. And we do solicit feedback from our representatives. Does this seem like something we could do, or is there an issue with the language of this proposed bill that we're bringing to you? All right. And then we're going to go over the different, we go over the different investigative authorities in state elections, right? So there's going to be who's the chief election official, right? Who is actually responsible for arresting somebody if they make, who issues the warrants, like what courts handle what, So, because there's different things. So, securing your elections, we offer deep insight into why and how our election administration and records have been removed from public scrutiny, despite being afforded with public funds. Okay, so we're going to go here in this section, and we're going to outline why we need access to election records, why we need access to election records, in a timely fashion, why it's time sensitive. Okay, y'all don't even. Yeah, I do. Yeah, thank you. So Mark Jason Walker says she knows the law, boys. Yeah. Yeah, and I know where to find it too. They have to look. They have to do this. They have to take it down. So I can't look at this. They took down the state website, so I can't even show y'all. Anyway, anywho, you can contact us on tbtr.us and get signed up. Melindy, I just actually got back into my email for this, so you are signed up on my website, Melindy. Just letting you know that, because I saw it said, oh, Melindy's trying to make sure she's signed up. So you are, and we've got a couple of people signed up already through our new website. This is our new website. Again, it's tbtr.us, guys. Old website right here. Okay, this is takingbacktexas.org. All right, this is OG website. Here's my original report, okay, called They Are Not Auditable. All right, I just typed it right into the website. I didn't know how to use GoDaddy at the time. I did this a couple years back. That's my OG report when I realized that audits were not going to be possible. It was going to be a waste of time because the records are not able to be audited. They've been so thoroughly screwed up that you can't actually audit them. So that's the old website. Okay, this is the new website here, TBTR. This is nationwide. So no matter what state you're in, you can sign up here. And we are ideally, like Melindy said, if we can stop all the bickering and infighting, we can actually unite some of our teams and sort of delegate people to where their specialty is. So if someone's a tech person, we can say, okay, go report to Jeff O'Donnell and help him analyze and organize things for your state there. I don't know what he needs help with, but I'm just saying. I also have tech people that, that I could use, and I could use a lot of tech people's help with some of the records that we've got just here in Texas. So no matter what state you're in, you can go and sign up at tbtr.us. Interested in learning more, you can just sign up. This right here, contact us. This is if you've got something really specific. If you've got something really specific, you can put it in this email, and we're supposed to be able to get back to you within 48 hours. I was having an issue of my email not notifying me that I was getting emails, so that was a pain in the butt. And it turned out I was logged out. I was logged into a different account, so that was my bad. But I have fixed that, and I'm a one man show, except that I do have a couple of people like Diddy who has helped with a lot of stuff. Diddy helped get a lot of our events that we did early on, our big events, where some of them, the first one we had over 200 people at our first event in Tarrant County. We had Captain Keschel. We had Kelly Sorrell booked to speak. The FBI had already gone and picked her up. We had local people. We've booked other events too. And so Diddy's always helped with those, and that's been really great. But it is hard, to process all of this stuff. And it takes time. So I appreciate everybody's patience as well. Especially with updates on this recount. I really appreciate y'all's patience. So feel free to check out our websites, tbtr.us and takingbacktexas.org. On takingbacktexas.org, we've got some of our other media interviews that I've done in the past, where we've gone over some of these items. So you can, if you want, you can go and watch those and get caught up. You can also read some of my reports. Some of them are literally just published notes that I took while I was in Tarrant County Central Count with Hyder there. So one or two of my reports might look like not necessarily like a written report. It's just my notes. I just publish my notes, right? I do that sometimes. So I really appreciate. So Hal West says same day voting in precinct. Yes, if the electoral system is not corrected, what is to stop the cheat in November? The best way to stop the cheat in November is for all of us to turn out and vote on election day. That's what I think is the best way. And to encourage everybody, every independent, every Democrat, to turn out and vote. And ideally on election day. It's going to be hard to convince people to do that. And if it's not possible, then okay, that is, early voting does exist for people who can't vote on election day. But that's what I recommend. We also need to pass certain legislation, because we should be able to just go and cast our ballot. We shouldn't have to be doing all these tricks. You know what I mean? We shouldn't have to be like juggling and stuff to have lawful elections, right? So, the sun is going down. So, you know what I'm saying? We should be able to just go cast our ballot, trust that our ballot's been cast and recorded accurately, and we should be able to trust the results of our elections. Right now, the way that it's set up, we're not able to do those things, and so we actually have to fix the laws, and then it's going to be a system of maintenance too. Like, we have to make sure that we fix the laws, and then they don't go and screw them up again, because they're liable to do that. So we're going to have to really, really make sure that our philosophy is clean, because we're going to have to base our legislation on our philosophy, and we're going to have to teach our children the philosophy so that the children can maintain the philosophy and make sure that the laws don't get totally out of whack like they have for the last 22 years since the Help America Vote Act was passed, right? There are things that can be done at the county levels. Like, the counties can choose some things. They can... In Texas, counties can choose to go back to paper elections. They can choose to vote, to have everybody vote in precinct. The counties can choose to follow the law as it's written. The counties actually have quite a lot of leeway in Texas. In other places, it's a little bit different. In some places, it's even more decentralized than it is in Texas. But just because it's decentralized doesn't necessarily mean that they have the ability to make certain changes. I tell you now, Oklahoma, for example, is regulated the entire state by one state board of elections. So all of their elections are supposed to be uniform, which in a way could be a blessing, right? But on the other hand, you got to do what they say. You can't really like get out of the procedures that they prescribe. You know what I mean? Joe Hoffman says, Al Bundy for president. Hal West says, same day voting in precinct. Yes, if the electoral system. Yeah, that's what I recommend. Same day voting in precinct. Highly recommend that. Over on Pilled, let's see. Mark Jason Walker says, teamwork makes the dream work. Heck yeah. Yeah, no, if you guys, let's see. All right, Belushi. Yeah. I think I met Belushi. If he wants to, yeah, I'll probably go on his show. We can talk about all this. Irvik says, I'm sorry, what was passed 20 years ago that changed our process? Oh, the Help America Vote Act. The Help America Vote Act actually, maybe inadvertently, incentivized, financially the adoption of computerized voting systems. It basically was telling counties, hey, if you want to update your voting system, we'll give you money if you want to buy one of these new fancy computerized voting systems, but you need to follow these certain standards. So the Help America Vote Act, it's not my favorite piece of legislation, but it does have some good things in there, like the auditability, auditable paper trail, and there are a few other things that's good with the Help America Vote Act. But it created the EAC, which is the entity, the federal deep state, entity, administrative state entity that is responsible for certifying the hash values and certifying all of the software that we're using. The EAC is responsible for saying, yep, it's good to go, you can use this, right? The EAC was created by the Help America Vote Act. So once the Help America Vote Act was created, or was passed, the EAC was created. The EAC started telling all these states, hey, this is good election software, and you can use this, and if you apply for the funds, then the government will give you money to use this. That's basically what happened. It was after the Bush v. Gore election, the hanging chads and stuff like that. They used that sort of as a incentive. They used that as sort of fuel to be like, oh, see, you can't rely on any of this old-fashioned, old ways of voting. We have to usher in this new computerized system. So, and the EAC authorizes stuff that we don't like, and then the SOS is implementing stuff that we don't like, and yeah, it's so then the people, what that ends up facilitating is that not only do the people not understand our elections, but not even our elected representatives can explain the processes in place with our elections, because they didn't design them, because they gave it to the SOS to design, So Congress didn't authorize certain software. The EAC did. So Congress can't tell you any of the details about the software that was authorized, because they delegated all that to the SOS. Or sorry, to the EAC. And then at the state level, state legislatures delegated to the SOS. So that's the case. So we either can appeal again and try to get all of those records, but it's too late now. They have literally run out the clock, and if the new recount totals are canvassed and certified, despite there being missing ballots and all of that stuff, then we'll have 2 days to come up with an election contest with whatever we've got left, unless they let us get more photocopies made. So we got to take this down to the legislature, and this is just more fuel to the fire. Say, hey, we literally can't. Yes, all by design, confusion, obfuscation. Yes, obfuscation. This is facilitation of fraud without detection. Even if they have to literally go in there and physically stop us from making a photocopy in order to show the judge, they don't care if we know that there are issues with the ballots, right? What can we prove in court? What can we kind of get them with publicly? They don't care if we know. They care if the people know, if we're able to establish this and show this to a court, right? So they made sure we weren't able to do that. So thank you guys. I just wanted to give an update on this because a lot of people were asking, and it's kind of been a lot, kind of a lot going on. So I want to thank everybody for being here, and yeah, if you guys want to support, again, you can. I've got down at the bottom, I think I have my Cash App, my Venmo, my PayPal, if you want. And then, and then I think I have Zelle too. I don't know if I need to give my, I think I have to give my phone number out to people if I want to use Zelle. So I don't know. I don't know if I want to do all that. But yeah, all right. Well, I'll let you guys go. I'm gonna go back and get back to some of my other work. But thank you guys so much, and I'll catch you guys later on the next live stream. I really appreciate you. Appreciate all your support, verbal support, emotional, mental support, and financial support as well. Anything helps. Thank you guys so much, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye. This is always awkward in a couple minutes where I need to put on my clothing.